Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm your host, Ben Hansen, joined by Jay-Z Gwaltney.
Oh, hi there.
Welcome. And then we have Kimberly Wallace.
Hello.
And Elise Favis.
Hey.
Welcome, everybody. We have a hell of a show. It's a new cover story week, everybody.
Yay!
So we're going to be talking all about Uncharted Lost Legacy. What an odd choice, but we're going to dive into details on that.
Lost Legacy.
The one and only, the Lostest
The
Legacy. We understand Ghost Recon Wildlands just came out this week. JB even playing a little bit of it so far.
A smidge of it.
But we want to have full comprehensive coverage, so that'll probably be next week when we'll cover all that. But we're also going to talk about GDC, which was last week, and these three fine people were at. Stories Untold. JB's excited to talk about this adventure thingy. Then we're going to talk about Nier, Automata, Super Bomberman R, and then after some great community emails, we are having a big old Zelda Roundtable. We're getting 6 people to sit around this table and talk in a very spoiler-free way about their impressions of Breath of the Wild, what they think, where it stacks up in the legacy of the series, what the future might hold for Zelda. And I would say there's like 1.5 special guests joining us for that segment, so stay tuned for that. One of them might be Wade Wojcik, who's normally in the booth.
Whoa.
Anyways,
Is
for
Wade
now,
the half?
he is the half. He's been on the podcast before, but
Oh,
just
I thought
not
you just
enough.
meant because he's small.
How dare
Oh,
you, sir?
ouch.
Hey,
That's very
Not everybody
offensive.
can be a giant like you.
Yeah, man.
Fair.
Hey,
An offense.
let's talk about the new cover story. New cover story is Uncharted: The Lost Legacy. Kim, you wrote this baby. The three of us, Elise and Kim and I, were out at Naughty Dog a couple weeks ago to check out this game. What did you guys think?
No, I think it looks great. I don't want to cut anybody off. No, so if you liked what they did in Uncharted 4, they're kind of expanding on that with bigger spaces. I mean, we saw an area that was bigger than Madagascar and probably one of the biggest areas they've ever done. I think it's interesting that after being with Nathan Drake for 10 years, we're finally stepping into the shoes of someone else, Chloe, who we've known for the past in the series, but we've also known her as not always the nicest person or making the best choices.
You know, she
Not
feels-
exactly heroic.
She
Yeah,
feels a
no
lot
way.
like Catwoman. It's one of those things that I kept
Yeah.
thinking about on the trip, but never asked. It's like there's a real Catwoman vibe to
Well,
Chloe.
it's that she has a loose moral compass,
I guess
right?
that's what it
think
is.
I think that's the
Well, I just
similarity.
think she's always looking out for number one, and if when she gets into bad situations, like when Jeff the cameraman fell, she's not gonna help with that.
yeah.
She's gonna be like, "That's someone I have to leave behind because I want to get," which is actually really interesting. So this is actually even more interesting because it's also taking us to India, which will explore Chloe's heritage. She's half Indian.
Yeah, it seems like the
Yeah.
larger story is about her trying to uncover her history with her
This is
parents
a lot
and her faith.
about Chloe's backstory and her kind of like repressing that culture of hers for so long and now coming back to it, and it ties into her relationship with her dad, who's an archaeologist.
Yeah.
So we find out a lot more about that, and also it's about Chloe and Nadine being a very like unlikely duo together, and how they are similar in the way that they're both self-preservationists, but also very, very different in terms of personality. Like, Nadine is a lot more business-like and in that way, and then Chloe kind of just does her own thing.
she's
right?
rash.
It's, yeah. So they pitched it very much as, Chloe's the star of the show. It's a lot about her history. And Nadine is certainly going to be a focus as well. But they made an interesting analogy where basically Nadine is to Chloe for Lost Legacy what Sam was to Nathan for Uncharted
Absolutely,
4.
yeah, it's exactly the same kind of thing. Like you play as Chloe only,
Yeah.
but then Nadine's kind of your sidekick, but you also it's also about that relationship between the two.
Yeah. So the development of this game, it's really bizarre. It seemed like a big driving message when we were there visiting Naughty Dog was like, hey, we have 1 year. What can we make? That year development timetable was talked about again and again and again. And so it started out as DLC for Uncharted 4 that they didn't know exactly what they're going to do. They tossed around a million ideas. Then they even tossed out some ideas where it's like, this is on the scale of what should be like an Uncharted 5. Not saying it
Yeah.
exists, but they
Yeah.
use that kind of in a loose term of like the scope of theoretically. And now it is in a bizarre middle realm where it's not quite Uncharted 4. It's longer than Left Behind.
Yeah.
What was interesting to me is it really does feel like an extension of Uncharted 4.
Yes.
It doesn't feel like an Uncharted 5, and it shouldn't. But it's definitely it's like a longer DLC. It does seem that way to
Or
me.
as Josh, co-writer, called it, downloadable Chloe. And then everyone got
Downloadable Chloe.
everyone got a
that's
good
funny.
chuckle out of that one.
I think
Yeah.
for the story they wanted to tell, and because they hadn't really delved into the backstories of Chloe or Nadine, I felt like I didn't even know Nadine at the end of Uncharted
Right.
4.
She can throw a punch.
That's all that's all I took away from it. So I think because they want to go there, they had to extend it out to tell the story that they wanted to tell. And like I said, I think they didn't have time to go too crazy. So building on the tools, like everything's back from Uncharted 4.
to a surprising degree, I
Yeah.
think. I think that was a big takeaway
Yeah.
from the demo we saw. Was
The
like
driving, the piton.
That's-
piton, the rope. It's like, oh, these are just Uncharted 4 mechanics. Like, I don't know what I was expecting, I guess.
Yeah,
but
I guess I don't know. I did feel like there's a lot that's similar. That's almost rehashed in a
Well,
way from what we know.
Yeah, do you guys feel disappointed by that you didn't see anything that wasn't like
A little bit.
mechanics
I
that
would
weren't
say.
rehashed
Well, I
mechanics?
wanted to see maybe a few, like a new mechanic or two. I mean, Chloe
There are
is different than
some.
Nathan Drake. She does not have a journal like he has. There's going to be something on her phone that she
It's-
does to collect stuff, but there's not that much.
It's small differences. The things that are new are small differences. Like
Well,
there's a lock picking.
But I don't think you should go in expecting
Yeah,
brand new Uncharted
no, I
mechanics.
didn't expect
Right.
it at all. I would have liked her to have one extra thing, I think, with climbing that she does in a different way, or maybe she does something different in battle.
But
Did-
go
did-
ahead. Jeremy.
Yeah, did Left Behind have any new mechanics? Like,
No.
What a great
I don't
question.
think so.
I mean, I don't think it did
mean,
either.
It was a twist on them, you
Yeah.
know, with like the squirt gun fight
Yeah,
and stuff.
there are little mini games in there that were different. but-
Right.
I mean, I think there's a hint of this in Last of Us, but in Left Behind, it certainly played with the idea more of kind of like pitting the humans, versus the enemies against each other a little bit more. Remember that like final area where you could kind of make them take each
oh
other
yeah, you
out.
can make them
Mhm.
fight each other.
So if you want to call that a system, maybe there's
Yeah.
introducing a little bit more. But
And sorry, I feel like they also weren't going to spoil bigger moments in that game. So like they keep claiming they are going to a new, like, the big set pieces are going to be there, kind of everything you loved with Uncharted. So
yeah,
I expect that like those set pieces are going to be what's really memorable kind of about the game, as it always
Yeah,
is.
yeah.
And like we didn't get to see any of that, but they assure us they're there.
and they had an
totally.
interesting take on it too, where they're like, yeah, with kind of like the pirate theme for Uncharted 4, the architecture for the pirates, you can't be too extravagant. It's
Mhm.
tough to get like big set pieces out of that type of theme. But going to India, I mean, just the second section of the demo that we saw, it looked gorgeous. It was
yeah, it was
just
so
giant
nice.
elephant statues with waterfalls running over them, and
Oh,
I think the environments are going to be the thrill,
Mhm.
and the story is going to be the thrill more
definitely.
than the gameplay.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely. Like I think gameplay wise, it is absolutely going to be an extension of Uncharted 4. But I think story wise and character wise, like we're going to see a lot of interesting new ideas.
Yeah,
You know, and I think India is going to be such a great place for Uncharted.
And to be fair, as someone who's never like been into Uncharted, I found Uncharted 4 to be like leaps and bounds as far as gameplay goes, better than any of the three that came before.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think like, oh, this is just Uncharted 4 in a different setting with different characters is necessarily a bad thing, because
Right.
it's the first one I actually enjoyed playing all the way through,
Mhm.
like the act of actually playing it.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
You know.
And I mean, it is an expansion. They only
Yeah.
had a year. I don't expect
Right.
expect a whole brand new game, but like I said, it would be. I'm interested to see what other mechanics they kind of maybe have along the way, because every time we play these games, there's always only so much they tell us on the cover story, and then you play them and you're like, oh, that's pretty cool. I
For
I
sure.
had
Yeah.
no idea that was coming. So I'm interested for the set pieces.
Yeah, and I mean, I like the idea of continuing the Uncharted universe without Nathan Drake.
Yeah,
I
for
think
sure.
that's bold, and I think that's great, because especially since he was the face of the series for so long,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and Nadine, we don't know much about her, like Kim said, and Chloe's been a fan favorite for so long, and putting those two together seems so strange at first, but now after talking to the team, I kind of understand a bit more their motivations for that. So
Yeah, it's fun to talk to him. We have a feature going up later in this month just about the idea of having, a big game that stars two women. It's a little bit different for the industry, and I think they're proud of it, but it wasn't like their mission statement of like, no matter
No,
what, we got to get
it's-
two women in this game.
I think really they did absolutely say that they explored their options, and they're just like, no, this is really what seemed most interesting to us.
They said that they didn't get any resistance from Sony as far as like,
Yeah.
two women, I don't know if it's going to sell. It's like, it's Uncharted. It'll sell fine, everybody.
It'll be
Let's do
fine.
something cool.
Yeah.
And they drove around in the first section of the demo we saw. What they were very clear to point out is a rusty red Jeep.
Mhm.
It is not a pink Jeep. It's not a pink Jeep.
It's a rusty red Jeep.
But that is the big environment that you were talking about,
Yeah.
Kim. It's big, but it's not, from the section we saw, and there's, I'm sure, other big environments as well. But it's not like a wide open expanse like Madagascar was in
No.
Uncharted 4. It's very much, you remember spoiling anything, vaguely, kind of the Elena Nathan section where you're driving the Jeep kind of around the waterfalls in Uncharted 4. It
Yeah.
felt a lot like that type of kind of labyrinthine environment where you can kind of try to navigate around these rocks and water.
They also said they're going to try to put more stuff for you to collect around the world and also more puzzles because people wanted more puzzles. But not pushing boxes, which they were very clear that they heard the criticism from Uncharted 4 on that.
There's going to be some sort of nod to that, a joke about crates somewhere in the game.
There's definitely, I really enjoyed the moment where it's like, hey, what's your guys' approach to like crates? You're going to be sliding around crates in this one? And then the game director, Kurt, kind of just gave a quiet, why do you ask? I've played a lot of Naughty Dog games, just curious if that's going to be a thing.
Right.
So they are aware of the few criticisms that Uncharted 4 had.
Mhm.
They're definitely applying it to this more streamlined, bite-sized experience. But what do we have coming up throughout the month? We're rolling out a whole month of coverage on this thing.
Oh, gosh. Yes. We have interviews, obviously, with all the developers who worked on it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We'll be looking at like the new vision for it. We have two guys who are taking the reins, a creative director and director. So
Yeah, Kurt and Sean.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting them on camera and whatnot. We talked to Kurt for the Uncharted 4 cover
Yes, we
story a
did.
little bit, but Sean, we've never really focused on
Yeah.
at Naughty Dog. He's a really interesting
Mhm.
developer. So a lot of interviews with him throughout the month. And then also we talked to Evan, co-president of
Mhm.
Naughty Dog.
Yeah.
Neil Druckmann, got a video interview with him and whatnot.
Mhm.
So it's going to be partly about, Uncharted Lost Legacy. The month of coverage is also going to touch a little bit on the nebulous future of Naughty Dog. They're not saying, hey, here's the plot of Last of Us 2, but just the future of development within Naughty Dog. Also talked all about their favorite moments from Uncharted 4. So if you're interested in Uncharted 4 spoilers coming from Naughty Dog, stay tuned towards the end of the month. There's a good video coming there. Elise, do you have a feature you're excited to get writing on?
Yeah, I think there's two that I'm most excited about. So I'm going to write about that unlikely duo, thing of Nadine and Chloe together,
Yeah.
and what makes them work, and also why they don't work that well together, and how that they start trusting each other as the story goes on.
Yeah.
So I'll talk about that, and I'm also excited to talk about diversity and Naughty Dog, just talking about what that's like to put two women on their game cover, and yeah. So
I think if
those
you
are two
capture the
things
quotes,
that-
that's going to maybe be the most interesting
I think
article
so.
of the month.
Yeah,
Outside of Kim's wonderful cover story. Just best of the best. Cream of the
Well,
crop.
yeah,
Best in the biz.
yeah. I'm curious to write that one up, and I think Nadine and Chloe are going to be two good protagonists.
Yeah. So it's gameformer.com/The Lost Legacy,
Yes.
I do believe. So check it out. Month of coverage. Hey, JV.
Yeah.
Welcome.
What's up? Oh, hi.
You were recently at GDC.
Yes, I was. All three of us were, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I came back with like the flu, so great.
Oh, perfect. We're all
I
sick
know,
now.
right? I know, right?
What
I'm
stood
here
out-
for you people.
JV, what was the coolest thing you saw at GDC?
There were a handful of games. I got to actually play Tacoma this time.
Oh,
I did as well.
Yeah, I saw it was basically a playable version of the E3 demo we saw last year. And it was, when they took us through the E3 demo, it was basically like being in like the Jurassic Park Jeep where like, you want to get out, you want to go mess around with stuff, but you can't. You're just sort of there looking at things.
I told you we needed locking mechanisms on the vehicle doors.
Right. But to actually get out and explore the space station and play it from the beginning, I only had like 10 to 12 minutes of it, but it was just really enjoyable. And it's one of those things where it's like, oh, I get to goof around with objects in the environment while also taking in story. So like there's a pool table, and I spent like a good minute or so picking up the pool balls and throwing them into the ball or to the hole.
The way we all played pool as a kid.
Yeah.
Nice.
But my favorite thing was like they actually collect at the bottom of the pool table, like a little slot holder. So I was just mesmerized by that because I'm a giant child.
I imagine creative director Steve Gaynor standing behind you like, we actually have a lot of work that we put in the rest of this game, JV.
Yeah, Steve was standing over my shoulder looking at it.
Oh, and Nina also told me that she was watching you play, and she thought it was hilarious how you were interacting with the objects. She's like, "No, perfect way to play."
This
That's
is Nina
exactly what I
Freeman, one of the
wanted.
designers.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
Tacoma.
Yeah.
But the actual mechanics where you have to like rewind, because there were recordings all over the station of how the crew is represented as like 3D models.
Yeah.
Then they're talking to each other, and it's not just here's this sort of thing from like Gone Home and Dear Esther where you're listening in to get the story. There's also like gameplay. Like at one point you have to open a door with a key code or a number code, and the way to get that number code is to replay the station's memory of like the station's captain approaching the door and inputting the code. you have to watch her fingers as she plays through the memory and rewind it and then go through it. And it's just stuff like that that's kind of neat. So I wasn't amazed by what I saw, but I'm really intrigued. Like, I want to play more of it. Like, the demo ended, I was like, oh, man, I want to spend more time on the station. There's also another game called Where the Water Tastes Like Wine.
Yeah.
What is this?
Which is really cool. It's also by someone else who used to work at Fulbright on Gone Home. Yeah.
Yeah, they're called, what is it?
Dimbold
Studios.
Dimbold Studios.
Really?
Yeah.
And
it's hilarious.
It's basically like a bleak Great Depression sort of America. He says it's psychedelic. The developer says it's a
psychedelic Great Depression.
Yeah, and you're playing
Christ,
this traveler who's going through America, and you use stories that you pick up as currency to like at campfires and whatnot. You'll hear a story and you'll trade stories and you'll like rest up that way.
Presented in a kind of text adventure way.
Yeah, in a little texty adventure sort of way.
Okay.
And there are tarot cards?
Tarot cards.
Yeah, tarot cards. And it's just, again, a short demo. It was like 5 minutes long, but it was really fun. And I want to see how it plays out. And it's beautiful. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous to
The
look
art
at. It's
style's
like
great, yeah.
hand-painted stuff.
Really? Okay.
And what was the other one? There's also another game, Ben, I think you'd like this one. It's called
Ooh.
Ape Out. It's
Ape
like
Out?
Yeah, it's like
Okay.
you play an ape who is escaping from a prison, and it's very Hotline Miami. Everyone's like glass cannons, so one hit you're dead, one hit they're dead. But you can like pick up enemies and just throw them across the landscape and just smash them to bits. And it's very colorful and dumb.
Thank you for thinking of me when you
I
think
thought of
dumb
it.
ape escaping from a prison.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's yeah. But
That sounds good.
yeah, it's really fun.
What about like industry level? What was the most exciting thing at GDC? Did you get to talk to some developers you never talked to before?
Oh, I talked to Mark Cerny for a minute.
Oh my God!
And
All
I
right,
was-
that's like a lifetime achievement.
I was really tempted to call him Knack Father, but I didn't.
He would have loved a good
yeah.
knack bashing joke.
No, yeah.
What did Mark Cerny have to say?
I don't remember.
What the hell are you talking about? It's Mark Cerny, one of the most brilliant minds in the industry.
I think we were just talking about video games, but Steve and Ian are always fun to talk to. They were just
Carla.
talking about their game. Yeah, Carla's fun.
Those are
Carla's
Fulbright
really
people.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Fulbright people.
I met Steve for the first time. He was really,
great.
really
Okay.
sweet.
He's very funny. Yeah.
Well, fans of the podcast might remember him from the Resident Evil episode.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Not
Oh,
too long
right,
ago.
right.
But
All
yeah.
right.
Oh yeah. One more. Into the Breach, which is the game, which is by the developers who did FTL, who haven't made a game since FTL came
Wait,
out.
did you say which is the game?
No, Into the Breach. Like I was saying, that's my next thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
which
that
is
was-
the game? Okay.
Yeah. Which is the game by the guys who did FTL, the new one.
Yeah.
And it's very Pacific Rim-y. It's like Fire Emblem, but in Pacific Rim's universe. Like
Okay.
that sort of thing. Not Pacific Rim's actual universe, but there are mechs, there are monsters, you have to defend the cities.
Okay.
It's very fun.
And there's breeding.
There's no breeding, I don't
Okay.
think.
That's probably the worst way
Oh.
to describe that in Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
Breeding. Okay. Well, that seems neat.
Breeding. Yeah, I get it now. I get the joke. I was trying to
Oh.
think of like they had sex in Pacific Rim. What?
Well, their minds melded.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that's
That's
true.
the
Like,
key to good lovemaking.
yeah, mental coupling. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen
It's an
Avatar.
emotional
yeah.
connection.
Oh boy, I wish I hadn't.
Cam, what stood out for you throughout all of GDC?
Well, I actually got to see War of Mordor. Which is
we have to get used to that phrase now.
War of Mordor. Yeah, I keep wanting.
Wait, no, Shadow of War.
Shadow of War.
Shadow
sorry.
of War.
So we shouldn't get used to that first one.
No. Well, I'm gonna. You know what? I'm renaming it War of Mordor.
War of
because that
Mordor.
makes more sense to
Uh-huh.
me. Yeah,
Shadow of War more.
Shadow of War. Wow, I'm gonna call it Shadow of Mordor. That's a hard one to get used to.
It really is, because everyone just called that
Yeah.
game Mordor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
and
now
now
they're
it's
like
like-
that one word.
I knew I was gonna mess that up. Gosh damn it. But I got demoed for me by some of the devs and got to see kind of. They know that Nemesis system is their bread and butter,
Hot
and they
S.
are definitely going bigger with it this entry. It's actually really cool. They showed us the battles are bigger. There's more to do in them, and your allies and enemies. There's way more dialogue going on with it. What I thought was really interesting was at one point, like this guy who was on my team, like I formed such a connection with him that I was just like, you're about to die, and he comes in and just like launches and saves your life for you. So they can now come into battle and help you.
Wasn't that a thing? You could summon them.
You could summon them, but this one's more like they can save.
They
your
have
butt
special
right as you're
actions.
supposed to. Yeah. Right as
Okay.
you're gonna.
And
they're
you're
there
like
to help you.
managing your team more directly this time.
Yeah,
around,
you
or?
definitely are. So there's different regions all around the world, and you can promote different, them to what is it called? War God or what? Not War God. Sorry.
War
War
Chief?
Chief?
War Chief. There we go.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get this all wrong today. Oh,
To the
War,
gods of war, yeah.
War,
Yes.
War Chief, and then you can either send them on missions while you're away, or you can like call them to help you, and they'll kind of cultivate that area, and that area will change based on. There's so many different classes this time around, so different parts of their personality will kind of come through within the area that you put them to. So that's pretty cool too.
And so that's the core. So Nemesis improvements
Mhm.
are just more options for ordering people around, and
More-
then also more
more-
dialogue.
Yeah, they'll be more involved in the battles that you do.
So
Okay.
did you get any sense of like the world? Because that was my biggest
Well,
issue
that was
with
the funny thing. I watched it. I was like, all right, I still don't have any idea of the open world. I tried to ask some questions, but they seem to just be not ready to talk about that yet and focused very much on what people love
Well,
about
what did it
It's
look
not.
like?
It's not the best setting. you know?
It looked good. I mean,
Okay.
like the graphics looked great, and I felt like those battles are going to be awesome. Like,
But is it just like dark side of a volcano again, or is it in Mordor?
it takes place right after your events of the first game, so you're just straight in there.
So you're in Mordor
Mhm.
again.
that would be just a
Well,
huge bummer,
They
though.
didn't say whether it was or wasn't, but
But it
yeah,
it looked
it looked like you're
it
back.
looked different from the last
But
game.
yeah, because there's all
Mhm.
these different regions now that you've come across. so-
Okay.
Because,
Mm.
like, man, I wanted something that wasn't just endless, like, landscape, like
Yeah.
desolate landscape.
Mundane.
Yeah, so that's the
Yeah.
problem. They haven't shown what they're
Mhm.
doing there. All they've shown is that you fast travel to these different regions and like bigger areas and more battles. Because all I really saw was the huge big battle fight where like all these guys were coming in to help you, and you're trying to like ram down the doors and sneaking up, like everything you loved about that battle system that was vicious and sneaking up. They're also this time around though they're adding multiple difficulties because they got a lot of response from people who are either too good at the system or thought it was too hard. So now they're balancing that out a little bit
That's a
better
good
for
idea.
people.
Mhm.
Okay.
All
I
right.
just remember getting to that groove of using that flurry strike where I'd vault over them and then just hack and slash them, and I just fell
Mhm.
into this rhythm where I just could
Right.
not break out of doing that again and again and again and again and again.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Uh,
that combat's super enjoyable.
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty much almost the same thing as the Batman Arkham Knight system. So, yeah.
I call it the Mad Max system.
The Mad
Yeah.
Max. Oh, God.
So this is coming out real soon. This is like in August, right?
Yeah, that's what's crazy about it.
Wow.
It's so
yeah, that
soon.
is soon.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Elise, best thing at all of GDC.
Best thing. I think one of my top things, and these two guys probably agree, it was Perception, which is a horror
Ooh.
game from
Yeah.
ex-BioShock developers, and it's this. You play as a blind woman named Cassie, and you are exploring this house and just uncovering the mystery and the secrets of the people that lived there. And there's this ghostly apparition,
And
in
it's
this house that's sorry.
Okay, hang on. It's a black screen. What are we looking at? How does this
Yeah,
work?
okay, so basically you so you play as a blind woman, but the way you're able to see your world is through echolocation.
Mm.
So I was playing on a
Mhm.
PC, so every time I press spacebar, it would kind of start showing me like close proximity
Mhm.
objects and the
Yeah,
environment.
so
If you,
can't
if you
see-
remember, like, the terrible Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck,
Very well.
how he saw the
Yeah.
world, like, with, like, sort of crude, like, outlines of the environment.
Yeah.
That's what it looks
It's
So
like.
you
all
can never
kind
see
of
very far in front of you. and-
bluish and cloudy and crude outlines like JV said.
Does the character make a noise then, like the clickers in Last of Us?
The main character?
Yeah, to like do the echolocation isn't the whole point. You have to like make some noise that then echoes back.
I think
I think it's her cane that
Mhm.
she's
Yeah.
using.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I think she kind of like plops that down. and
What's
then-
fun about that?
So what's interesting is I don't know. It kind of almost had a Gone Home.
It has
feel
a
to
gone
it,
home feel with her voiceover. She's connected to this place
Yeah.
somehow from
but also a kind of BioShock feel to it in the sense that you're finding these different audio recordings, and it's very story driven in that way. There were little puzzles like trying to open a cabinet that was
Mhm.
locked. Stuff like
there's
that.
also something in the house with you. You're
Right,
being
and
pursued by
So it is a
something.
horror ass horror.
It is a horror
haunted, It is
game.
a haunted house. So there are jump scares, and
Yeah.
there is something after you that doesn't want you there.
It's interesting because not too long ago, was it maybe last year, that other game was released, Beyond Eyes? Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Mm.
that is a kind of a similar thing where you're visualizing the world through that kind of echolocation kind of thing.
Has there ever been a game that starred a deaf person?
There must be.
there's got to be, and we're gonna miss it. And
I'm sure someone in the
yeah.
comments will tell us.
Yeah, I don't
That's
think
okay.
Bomberman has ears technically, so maybe it's kind of connected to that. All right, what else we got? What are the other exciting things from GDC that we haven't talked about yet? Did anything stand out for you guys? Good show overall.
Yeah, it was a good show.
I enjoyed the stuff that won it, like IGF and
Oh,
everything. I thought
yeah.
the indie stuff like Quad Cow took home everything.
Did you feel completely vindicated?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Look, just game developers and the entire industry think this is the best game of the year. No big deal.
I got to play some of the indies coming to the Nintendo Switch.
Oh, they had like a whole
Ooh.
Nindies
Yeah, they
section,
had
if I
the
may?
whole Nindies event going on. So they had about maybe 10 games that you could do hands-on. I didn't get to try everything, but I think the couple of things that stood out to me was there was one game called Mr. Shifty.
Okay.
No, it's good though. It's kind of like has a Hotline Miami vibe to it. It's a
Uh-huh.
top-down action shooter where like one hit kills and stuff, but it's also kind of like fused with this Nightcrawler vibe because you have this teleportation ability where you can like zoom in and out of many different rooms.
Not the Jake Gyllenhaal film.
Yeah, I
which
was like-
No. I mean, I like X-Men.
Okay, so you're like blinking around an environment with
Yeah.
Hotline Miami. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there any way we could turn him into a monkey though? So it'd be more entertaining.
Anyway, I had fun
Oh,
with it.
okay.
And it ramps up its difficulty pretty quick. So
Right on.
That's-
I enjoyed that a lot.
Do you guys think Nindies sounds like bad mints?
I refuse to use that name,
It's such
by
a
the way.
dumb name.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Joy-Con is where it's at.
Oh, totally.
just accept and swallow
Goodness.
whatever Nintendo's pitching as far as dumb
Because they're gonna
terminology.
stick to it.
Hell yeah, Nindy's still
Okay,
on.
there was another game. I'm gonna try to explain it because it's a difficult concept to get. Okay, so basically it's called Tumbleseed.
Okay, we're ready. Setting the scene.
I'm gonna try
Tumbleseed.
this
Close your
pitch.
eyes. Close
Yeah,
your
yeah,
eyes.
yeah.
All right, Tumbleseed.
Visualize.
Beyond
You
eyes.
play as a seed. It's basically the way they're explaining it is it's a rolly roguelike. So
I am a seed, and I am a rolling
it's weird.
seed.
You're a rolling seed. You basically listen to me, guys.
I'm listening. I'm
It's
trying.
this colorful world. You're going up a mountain, and you have to make sure to not fall into all these different obstacles. Like there's enemies, and there are also holes that you have to not.
This
fall
is
into.
Super Monkey Ball.
Basically, listen to me.
Okay.
So you're balancing your seed on a horizontal plane, and you can balance it up and down like this, left and right, and you're going up the mountain slowly, trying to avoid these different holes and stuff and the enemies. And there's permadeath, and there's different villages that you go to where you talk to other seed
And
beings.
this
Do you
seemed
grow?
cool.
Do you grow? Do you grow ever? I mean, you're a
So
seed.
you have different upgrades, so you get different seeds that have different abilities as you go on.
But you know that
But
the
you can
credit
lose
sequence is
everything
going to
if
be
you
like a
die.
flowering plant going through.
But it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
All right.
That
Way to go,
reminds me-
Nindies.
I
That
wanna
actually
balance
reminds me
my
of a game
seed.
you would like, Ben Hansen.
Oh, please.
It's called
What dumb creature does this
Oblet.
one star?
It's called, I think it's either Oblets or Ooblets, but
Ooblets.
Oh, the Double Fine one.
yes,
They're
yes.
producing it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Publishing
you-
it, sorry.
Yeah, I actually got to see that. Yeah, you're farming, which you like because hey, Harvest Moon fans,
Grew up
Stardew
on
Valley.
a farm. Heck yeah.
But you're catching characters come up to you and you kind of collect different critters, which are adorable, and people in the town will come up to you and be like, "Let's Pokemon style battle," but they won't use the word Pokemon because they can't. But
You played Pokemon, right? Let's do that.
yeah, so it's a mix between this weird, like you're coming to a new town, you're building up obviously your place, you're farming, you defeat other groups, ooblets, yeah, and then you plant, like when you defeat them, you get a seed, and that's where the seed reminded me, and you
Uh-huh.
plant them, and you never know what you're gonna grow. So you might get the ooblet you just fought, or you might get a special one. So it's like, what's gonna pop up? What's gonna appear?
Stardew Valley meets Pokemon seems like a fantastic concept. I think
Mhm.
some mods were made even to that effect.
Mm.
But it seems like a tough thing to rein in.
It just has a cute art style, and it doesn't take itself seriously.
All right.
So it works for
Yeah.
me for what I saw. Like the main character does her little dance at the end when she wins.
Love
it's
it.
Great. It's great.
I think of all the games, no offense to any other games, that might be the one I'm most excited about, seeing more Ooblets.
Mhm.
JV, you're super excited about Stories Untold. What is this thing real quick?
Yeah. Okay. So Stories Untold is
This is not GDC. This is out now.
yeah. This is out now.
Okay.
It came out on February 28th. It's basically this. It's a new studio. It's from a new studio called No Code. They're Scottish, and one of the founders was the UI guy on Alien Isolation and designed a lot of like the mini games and stuff and how that game actually looks.
Okay.
So he branched off and he decided to do his own thing. And so this developer, about 6 months ago, they released a text adventure called The House Abandoned for free that they made during a weekend. And The House Abandoned is interesting because you play in a fully 3D environment. You're sitting at a desk and you're playing a text adventure on like a retro style monitor.
That is exactly your type of game.
Yeah, it's pretty nerdy. But as you progress through the text adventure on the screen, your environment changes around you. So like if you answer the phone in the text adventure and it rings, the phone in front of your desk will ring. And there are a bunch of jump scares associated with that. And it sounds kind of dorky, but it really works. And so that turned out to be really popular with people. Like Kotaku wrote about it, Polygon wrote about it.
Game Informer ignored it.
No, we eventually covered it.
All right, there we go.
But they decided to make a whole game out of it. And they created an anthology. And it's not text adventures all the way through, which is sort of what they pitched it as. The first one's a text adventure. It's a House of Abandoned remastered. The next one is sort of an escape the room puzzle where you have, it sort of takes place in like this sort of Twilight Zone episode, it feels like, where you have this massive vault in front of you with all these machines hooked up to it. And you're helping scientists understand what's in the vault. Like there's some kind of creature or some kind of artifact. And you have to read this detailed manual to like figure out how to work the machines. And it's just ludicrous. Like it is so complicated, but it's fun to figure out. And then the third one, it gets better.
Okay.
The third one, you have to read microfilm at a polar outpost to try and figure out how to use Morse code and to decode like various transmissions you're getting. And it's just madness.
And they're all
That's insane.
disconnected. It's not like the same
No.
story or universe or anything.
I mean, yes and no.
okay.
Yeah,
all
I don't
right.
want to say any more than that because you have to play it to figure out. But
Yeah.
it's very good at selling its atmosphere. If you like Stranger Things, if you like Stephen King short stories, if you like the Twilight Zone, any of that stuff, sort of
Yeah.
like, you know, these stories that mix the macabre with the, you know, the sort of mysterious and creepy and unknown, like it's your thing. It's really hard. Like the puzzles are super difficult, like bite-sized bits from maybe The Witness. Because I played through The Witness and I was definitely getting The Witness vibe. I was actually texting Elise while I was doing the last puzzle, and I would just text stuff like, "I really hate this game right now."
He basically bounced from I hate this, I love this, this is
Yeah.
frustrating, this is amazing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
I had.
Oh,
I
Grim
had
Fandango. Yeah.
yeah, I had like a notepad out taking notes, like trying to scribble the Morse code and stuff. Like it's really fun if you're willing to do the work. And the finale, it's emotional and scary, and it's totally worth the effort. I feel
Wow.
like.
So fans of funky, starting with text-based adventures, but branching out. Into
I'd say
something
like
different.
fans of either horror or
Yeah.
puzzle games.
And,
like
and challenge, right?
Yeah,
it sounds like
challenge.
it's quite challenging.
Oh yeah, it's challenging. It's not something you can't overcome, but
Okay.
but it's not just this takes me 10 minutes to solve. Like you'll probably spend an hour at least on the last puzzle.
This seems like
Whoa.
prime territory for JV at our top 50 games of the year discussion for 2017. Being like, why the hell didn't anybody else play
Stories
Stories
Untold?
Untold?
Thanks for my voice. I think I'm gonna try and get Joe to play it since
Yeah.
he's such a huge puzzle person.
Well, speaking of Joe,
Mm.
I
Oh
miss
no,
the guy. He hasn't
no.
been on the podcast
Do
for
we
a
have
very
to?
long time. We need to interact.
We don't
with
really
this
need
guy.
Joe.
Elise and Kim, we love you dearly,
Yeah.
but
No,
you have
guys
other
don't.
work to do.
I'm no Joe Juba.
I'm sorry. Would you mind?
Neither am I.
Would you mind clapping your way out of here?
No.
All right. Goodbye,
Okay.
everybody.
No.
All right.
We're
No,
doing
you.
it
No, you, Elise.
1, 2, 3.
No.
This is a disaster. All we need to make this work is one
Oh,
clean
no.
clap.
Okay.
Here we go.
Kim, we got this.
All right.
We got this.
You know what's an easier route? You could also do a high five. You could also do a high five.
Yeah, that's
no
I don't
sync
wanna-
required.
No, we'll just do this. I don't want to high five because I'm sick.
Oh,
So
okay.
What? It's like a millisecond.
I just don't want to get even
No,
sick.
no.
How dirty is that hand?
It's not. I'm trying to be.
Okay. All right. All right.
Everyone stay
Okay,
calm.
here we go.
can do this
Here we go.
clapping thing.
We
All
just
right.
need you to go.
Okay. 1, 2, 3.
Hey, welcome everybody. We have Brian Shea,
Hey.
a byproduct of Joe Juba being here.
Hey.
They always come in pairs. We
Wait
also,
a minute. Am I shackled to Shay?
yeah. Haven't you looked at your foot recently?
That's a
Oh.
word for it.
Dang it.
We have JV Gwaltney. Joe, JV really wants you to play Stories Untold.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because there are puzzly elements I feel like that you would like. And
So-
it would also torture you at the same time, like
Oh,
the
wait,
Witness
okay.
did.
Wait, do you want me to play this because it's good and I would enjoy it? Or do you want me to play this because I would suffer through it?
A little bit of both.
Yeah, okay, I'm not going to do that.
Also, Joe, Shea really wants you to play Super Bomberman R.
I don't actually.
Real quick, Shea, what's going on with Super Bomberman?
So it's kind of like a throwback or an attempt to throw back at like the magic of
A
the
throwback where no one caught it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of like the Super Nintendo style where it's like, you know, you're on a grid-based map, you're running around planting bombs, trying to kill the other guys, and then like the last person standing wins the match. And
Perfect.
it's like cool, I'm into that. And then it's like, all right, that's all there is to this multiplayer. It's like I have like, it's that's
What do you want? Capture the flag? Bomberman.
something else would be nice, but then like there's a story mode, which I'm like, okay, cool, I can get into that. And it's
You
like,
actually said this out loud?
yeah, I was like, story mode, that could be cool. They could do some cool stuff with
He
that.
did say this
And
out
Yeah,
loud.
we
I
sit
heard
next to him. Shay talks out loud pretty much constantly.
Yeah,
so.
it's a disaster.
Oh boy, options in the menu here.
It's actually like sitting next to Ulysses, like just no periods, nothing, just Shay's endless monologue.
I took to narration at an
Uh-huh.
early age. But yeah, so the story mode, it starts out fine enough, crappy
I would
still
argue
shots.
it doesn't because I started it as well. And that
Crappy
VO
still
is
shot
real
animations.
rough.
Yeah, well, not animations, just illustrations, and like really bad voice acting, but whatever. I didn't expect much from that aspect of it. But then you get into like the different modes, and it's like, all right, eliminate all the enemies on the map, and I'm like,
Right.
cool, I can do that. It's fun. It's easy to do, and then it's like, all right, now find hidden keys, and that's fine too. But then there's other ones that's like, here's a bunch of NPCs that you need to go around and escort to a safe zone, and it's like,
Bomberman and escort missions are like
Yeah.
chocolate and peanut butter.
well, it's also like the NPCs aren't invincible, so like if they get hit,
Yeah.
they go back to their area where they spawned, but they also trail you. So like if you have 4 NPCs that you're trying to get to this area, like they will trail you. So if you put a bomb and then go around the corner to dodge the explosive or the
Right.
explosion, it just they like 2 of them will get caught in the blast. And then like enemies are constantly spawning in, and then like they're getting caught in the.
I'm aggravated just listening.
It
to you
really,
talk
yeah.
about this.
yeah.
It's-
beyond. I mean, anybody could be saying it. It's not just your voice either. Shay.
Oh, yeah.
And the worst part though is this like game over system that they have in place, where if you lose all of your lives, so each world is 8 acts, and then a duel against an AI opponent, and then a boss fight.
Okay.
And if you lose all of your lives, you are like, do you want to use a continue? And I'm like, sure. That'll cost 100 gems. So you earn gems from playing multiplayer matches online or through completing story worlds. And
It's continuing this bizarre trend in the industry where it's full-priced games that kind of incorporate some free-to-play ideas for
But
what
you can't.
end?
Can you buy gems separately?
no. You earn them through playing multiplayer. So it's like, or playing, like, earning them by completing a world. So it's like, if I got stuck on a world, like I got stuck on World 3 for a while,
Yeah.
I used all of my gems trying to just power through this, and then I'd earn more gems at the end. But I didn't beat the boss. I died on the boss. So I lost all my progress for that world. And then I didn't have any gems left to try to continue, like, if I did it again. So it's like,
And you can't go back and play World 1 or 2
No.
to rack up extra gems to try again.
no, you can't.
Ugh,
So it sounds like
until-
an abomination
Until
of a game.
you beat the game itself, you can't go back and play the other world. So it's like, all right, well, I guess I'm either not continuing the story mode or I have to go play multiplayer. But that's fine if they want to push people towards the multiplayer to populate the online community. But it's like, I just want to play story right now. Like, sometimes you're in the mood to play online multiplayer.
When I'm in the mood for a good story,
Yeah,
like to sit down with Super Bomberman
You really want
R.
that Bomberman narrative.
But you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. There's certain times where you just want to sit back and play like a single player mode. And I'm not saying this is a good single player mode, and nor should it be a destination mode for this game.
But if you're stupid and you want to play the
Oh.
single player mode,
But if you bought a game that offers a single player mode, which it also is playable co-op, a single player story mode, an online multiplayer, and local multiplayer, and you just want to play one of those pillars of that game, you should be able to do so without having any kind of like, oh, well, I ran out of gems. I guess I need to go play this other mode.
It is bizarre.
Yeah.
Here's the frustrating thing. I played it over the weekend as well. Love it. No, I'm just joking. But the thing is,
I wouldn't put it past you.
the core Bomberman multiplayer experience, I understand it's been around for 25 years or so. Just a hell of a
Well,
long time.
33 years
Is that
is
right?
how long the Bomberman franchise has been around.
Oh my
According to the
God.
startup screen, when it says Bomberman 33rd, and I'm like, why would you like? I get 25 and 30, but like,
Just
33
something on the
years.
label. Yeah, the classic 33. I really think that core Bomberman multiplayer is still super fun. I love it. Like Bomberman 93, if you have 4 players, more than that, whatever, cram them in there. I still love it as a local chaotic multiplayer experience. I think you can have a lot of fun with that.
you can.
But then they're like, well, we want to sell this for a big old price. We got to pack in more features. That's the first mistake.
Mhm.
Just release a little bite-sized local multiplayer experience, peak Prime Bomberman, which I do think is buried in this game. Like there are multiplayer options in there where you can have that trimmed-down version, but there's a lot of crap buried on top of it.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like when it does that, it's fun. It's just there's not a lot of depth there, and they
course
try
not.
to add
Yeah.
a lot of depth, and they fail miserably at doing so.
Right.
Well, and there's also the question about like if that experience is that old, like if you're just repackaging and re-releasing the same thing, like there's a sort of idea of degradation over time, and like if Nintendo were just to keep re-releasing Super Mario World for Super Nintendo as a new game constantly,
Yeah.
I think people would lose patience.
This
for
one
that,
has a gem
you know?
system.
Yeah, exactly.
They could buy hats.
So, would you recommend it to anybody for a new game to have with their Switch?
No, like
Okay.
I mean, it's fun if you get like a really good group of friends who are super into Bomberman, but
Mhm.
like even then, like the novelty wears off pretty quick.
I brought it to a party this weekend to play it with friends, and they should have called it Super Bomberman. Are we done playing this yet?
Hey,
Thank
Good
you.
didn't
joke.
go over well.
No, I was kicked out of the party and trying to be like, oh, but I want to Switch. Door slam. Joe Juba, you played hypothetically a better game.
Yeah, I played Nier Automata.
Yeah, this is Platinum Games picking up the hot Nier license and making a new game.
Well, that's not totally right. It's still like the main creative minds behind the original Nier are still behind Nier Automata.
Really?
Yeah,
Because
it's
it's with Square then? Or how does that work?
I guess I don't know all of the sort of business angles behind it. Apart from just like the key creative folks.
Worked with Platinum to make this.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
So
What, first of all, thoughts on the original Nier, where you think it stands in the industry?
so this is one of those things I recognize it's a big cult hit. I played through it back in the day, did a review for it, and I didn't love it.
Is it one of those where there are elements that are really interesting?
Yes.
Okay.
So and that is true for Nier, and that's true for Nier Automata, where it's like it reminds me a little bit of. So I reviewed The Last Guardian for us last year, and that was a really weird review to do because that game for me was such a swing of highs and lows,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, wow, it does this thing so well and this thing so poorly. And reviewing Nier Automata made me feel like that in a lot of ways, where there are some things that it does that are just spectacular, and then other things that are just like that aggravated me. So it's not one of those like consistently one way or the other games.
Sure. So what does it get right?
So the stuff that it gets right that I really love is like the narrative elements and how all of that ties into just provide this really a really clear and interesting and sad sort of vision of the world.
I like that last word.
Oh yeah. So the basic setup. So if you haven't played the original Nier, you can still jump into this one. It's set so far in the future from the first one that like there are threads that connect them, but you can start fresh with this.
Xenogears, Xenosaga style.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So really what it is the idea that like when the game starts, what you know is that you are an android as part of this whole android army that is fighting off a machine army. And now the distinction there is androids like are they look just like humans except they're androids, I guess.
Okay.
Whereas the machines have a very sort of like old school like robotic, like they look like big metal robots.
Okay, T1000, T800, sorry.
Yeah, actually, I mean, more sort of like, I don't know, they almost have a kind of like campy robot sort of look to them. They're sort of like very cylindrical and blocky.
Okay.
Yeah, there was one you were fighting that looked like a water tower with legs.
Yeah.
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 K2SO from Rogue One? Is that what we're talking here?
Yeah, a little
okay,
like that.
All right.
So, but the idea, what makes like the premise so interesting is that like the androids and the machines have been at war for just thousands of years.
Love
And the idea is that the androids are fighting on behalf of the humans because the humans are basically forced to evacuate Earth and they live in this like tiny compound on the moon.
Until the war's over?
Yeah, basically. So the idea is that you are just fighting this millennia long war. That it's just this constant cycle. That there's just no end to it.
I like it, yeah.
But it's all happening on Earth. So Earth has just been it's another one of those sort of like post-apocalyptic sort of things, right? Where it's like
I like how quickly that's become a cliche. Apparently,
A lot of that going around.
But-
here
but I
we
mean,
go.
like
Another torment.
the idea that like the world has just been completely reclaimed by nature, more or less, except they're weird. Like there's like an amusement park that's still up and running, and
The machines love
things-
that.
Yeah,
It's very
they
fun.
do actually.
What? They ride around little ponies.
Anyway, so all of that's to say is that like under that sort of setup, the uncertainty of like the androids' connection to the humans and what they're really fighting for, the fact that the machines don't just seem like brainless machines, that they have sort of developed into like a civilization and a culture of their own. Like, it's interesting the way that the story sort of provokes the player to consider like, sounds kind of hokey, but like provokes you to consider the meaning of life through things that are not alive, through androids, machines, robots, whatever. Like by using these things as the sort of conduit for the message, there's a lot of interesting thematic stuff.
So
that's
is it
going
just
on.
like the bit from Mass Effect 3 with like, does this unit have a soul like stretched out into an entire game then?
No, that's not that I would not say that.
Okay.
Okay.
Like it gets I don't know, like I said before, it gets sadder at times.
So this is an interesting premise.
Yeah.
What's the game?
Well, you seemed interested in what was going on.
I hear you.
So the game itself, you play. So it's because it's from or developed by Platinum Games. It does have a sort of stylish action look to it. So
Okay.
as you're playing, it's third-person action. Looks a bit like Bayonetta. You're doing a lot of like flashy sword combos, shooting at things with a little robot that's by your side, and like chopping up a bunch of machines, doing like launchers and aerial combos.
So
and,
less
and that
RPG
kind of
overall
stuff.
then?
So where the RPG stuff comes into play is a lot more in sort of the character growth, where it's like you have basically this motherboard that you can like slot different upgrade chips into. So that's how you customize your loadout more. I mean, you choose which weapons you're using, but then you also choose sort of which facets get like bonuses. You can get this. It's like, oh, this will auto heal me, and this will restore 30% of my health when I kill an enemy and stuff like that.
Okay.
So now I did give this game a 7.75,
Okay.
which is on the lower end of where a lot of people are coming in on it. So I don't want to come off sounding that I'm like, I don't want to come off pretending like I'm super positive on all this stuff. 'Cause, like,
Okay.
it does these things that are very interesting.
Yeah.
But on the like combat and RPG front, one of the things that bugs me about it is that like, and I'm not demanding that this game is like Bayonetta where, you're constantly buying new skills and all of that stuff. But like combat to me had a kind of samey feel to it from beginning to end. So you can do some things, or you'll get some different moves that you can equip on your little like RoboPod buddy and stuff like that. But for the most part, you're using largely the same sort of array of moves at the beginning against enemies as you are at the end.
Okay.
So, and a
and-
lot of the things that you're like the RPG stuff we were talking about, the upgrades that you slot in, it's not like, oh, I'm going to buy a new move that's good for taking out a group of enemies or something like that. It's usually just stuff like, that are sort of like passive percentage boosts to things you can already do, with some exceptions like I said, sort of auto health regen after a little while and things like that. But so to me, that was just sort of a not super satisfying way to play an action game. I wanted it to grow a little more. I like to feel like my capabilities are sort of getting better.
It seems like that would make a really good
And-
first impression, but then I'd imagine it's a longer game.
Yeah, well, and this ties into another thing too. Is like I got through it in about 40 hours.
Okay.
Maybe a little less. But part of that is that this game has multiple endings. Technically, it has 26 endings.
Okay.
One for each letter of the alphabet.
All right,
I love
it.
that.
Let's do it, Japan.
I
Hell
hate
yeah.
that.
I love
Um,
that so much.
Of course you do.
So now some of these endings are just kind of like are just kind of silly, So it's like
Let me guess. Q. That weird
Yeah.
one.
it's stuff like so like when you open up your motherboard thing, you have some chips that are pre-installed on there that are actually basic like game functionality stuff. Like hey, this is the mini map, and this is the like damage tech or like the damage numbers that pop up when you hit enemies and things like that.
Okay.
That if you want to conserve space and like make more space for other upgrades, you can take those out. It's like, oh, I just don't have a mini map right now.
That's so cool.
But one of them is called the OS chip. And it just says like removing this will like cease your functions or something. So if you remove it, that's how you get one of the endings. Like you just die because you remove your like central chip.
That seems fun.
Yeah.
Is it a thrill to try and find them all?
Yeah, so that's one of the interesting things about it. But what I will say is that's like the first 5, A through E, are sort of the main endings. So I got all of those during my playthrough in about, like I said, about 40 hours. I did a lot of like side quests and stuff in there too. So it's a longish game.
Okay.
Yeah. But another interesting thing about its structure, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little fired up about it.
Please.
Is that like for some of those endings, you essentially are doing playthrough isn't quite the right word, but you sort of follow different characters through different paths, right? So the first character you start with, you will play through that game and you'll play through the game, you'll get an ending. I think that's the A ending. And then you start as a different character and play through basically the same stuff from a different perspective. And then you get a different ending. And then you play through as another character who goes to a lot of the same areas, but it's a different sort of angle on the story again. And then you get, so it's like, that's how you get through the completion of the story, is that like, even though it treats the campaign as sort of, it's kind of separate and whole at the same time.
So does it get super repetitive then, going through like these recycled environments? Like, is that one of your issues?
That was one of my issues with it also. Yeah.
Okay.
Because like, especially for those first 2 campaigns, it is like you are playing through the same events. In some cases, the 2 characters are like right side by side, and you're just playing through it as a different character who, admittedly, like the abilities are a bit different, but not different enough as to make it feel like, oh wow, I'm really playing, like this really changes this.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know. So again, that was another sort of problem I had.
So it seems like my read is funky structure, funky systems. If you like stylish action and you like RPGs and can withstand some oddities, go for it.
Give it a shot. I mean, if for no other reason, it's just like super interesting in the I'd say like in the narrative risks that it takes, and in the gameplay risks that it takes. Because like while a lot of it is that third person action, it also deviates, and I don't want to spoil all these, but it deviates into some other like weird parts. You're playing along, and all of a sudden you're surprised that, wow, this is not what I thought I'd be doing right now. You know,
all right.
So it goes off in some cool directions. It's definitely a game worth checking out.
On PS4, coming out on PC soon.
Correct.
There's a lot of debate about when it's actually launching on Steam.
No,
it's March 17th.
They announced
There we go.
It's March
So
17th
much
now.
debate.
There was a lot of debate.
It was unclear.
The debate was actually just me and Joe for like a week arguing when is it going to come out.
So loud in that little bullpen. You guys want to move on to some great emails?
Yeah, let's do it.
Sure.
And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We got some great emails that people sent in to podcast@gameinformer.com. They sent in a ton of feedback, questions about the industry. A lot of people reaching into the far reaches of the future. A lot of console questions for some reason. It's weird. I think just the launch of the Nintendo Switch kind of got people in that mood, in that vibe. But we're going to read off the best of the best here, and then we're going to choose our absolute favorite question. There's not even going to be debate. It's going to be basically unanimous the way we're slamming in on this thing. And then we're going to ship that person out something really nice.
Really,
So remember,
really nice.
help me remember, everybody, every email and which one you like.
Okay.
Kick things off. Tom from Hungary. Hello, Tom. Says, hello, Ben. Have you ever thought to pop someone in random when you clap to change the cast in the Game Informer show? Like something went wrong, and let's say you want to summon Dan Tack, but you accidentally summoned JV, then try again, but this time it works, just for fun. Great suggestion. We've had a lot of clapping this episode. We did that in the E3 tour video 2014, which I guess is the genesis of the clap lore for the GI show. So there were some fun ones there, but I guess we could try it real quick. Shay, do you want to just clap?
Sure.
Yeah. Hi, what's your name, sir?
Ted.
All right, you want to clap again, Ted? Hey, welcome back, Brian.
Oh,
that was great.
Hope you enjoyed that, Tom from Hungary. Anyways, Twiggy from Melbourne, Australia writes in and says, hello. They wrote it that way. This isn't me making fun.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you guys are skill point hoarders or spenders in RPGs. I'm a big time hoarder when I play. Every level I get a skill point and then spend 5 minutes trying to decide what to unlock before leaving it for about 5 levels and then unlocking in bulk. Talking with friends, they seem to think that I'm insane. Maybe I just need to get off the fence. What do you guys think? Are you guys are you unlocking in bulk types?
It depends on the game, but like on open world games like Horizon,
Yep.
that's definitely something I'm doing where it's like, well, I have 2 skill points now. I could like buy anything from this whole category, but I actually want, the thing that lets me fire 2 arrows at once. So I need to save for a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's
so
also-
that's what I do. But like in typical RPGs, no, I just spend immediately.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same camp where it's like if I see something I really want, like it's 3 skill points instead of 2, I'll start saving up. But like, especially if I need to open that path, like in Horizon, like to get to like the 2 arrows, you need to unlock like one of the things before that, and it's like, all right, well, I'll spend that, and then I'm gonna start saving up for the 2 arrow one. But I kind of early on in the skill tree, I'll plot my path, and then I'll kind of set my mind to that.
Yeah, I think it depends on how obnoxious the UI is as well for trying to remind you, like, oh, you have an unused skill point. But I'm with you. I don't want to spend time in menus at all, so I just save all that crap till I absolutely need it.
It really does depend on how it's structured too, because if it's a game where it's like you just need to spend skill points to unlock the next tier and then spend more to unlock the tier beyond that, then I'm much more likely to just like spend and spend. But yeah, if it's the sort of thing where you can save up for a powerful ability and there's nothing gating that, I will totally hoard those skill points.
I still think my favorite like skill point sort of representation was Mass Effect 2. Like just how streamlined it was and how easy it was to do for like
What did that
both
look like? I'm
yourself
trying to
and your
remember.
squad. Like it was like just like 3 tiers
Okay.
for you and then
that's
your
right.
squads, and it was super easy if I wanted to like upgrade Garrus just to do whatever role I wanted him to play. But then you also had to like make a definitive choice between like superpower, like they're like the power that they have like a character specific power, right?
And
At the end of each tree, you
That's
basically
right.
got to choose a particular branch of like, I want it to be this version of this power or this version.
Yeah,
of
yeah.
this power.
every single character leveled up equally in that, right? So if you take Garrus on every single mission, and then you're like, all right, well, I'm going to switch to this other character, like they have 28 skill points waiting because you've never
Yeah.
used
Right.
them, which I really like too.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like
yeah.
the Pokemon effect where it's like, oh, I've never battled with this guy, I'm
Yeah.
taking him out and he's level 1.
Yeah,
Sultan
everyone
Turtle
gets
Muffin.
leveled up equally, pretty much. So I really dug that. I know why people don't dig that, but I love that simplicity and the elegance of it. Because when I played like a modern CRPG recently, and I can't remember if it was like a preview build of Torment or like a Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition or something, but I looked at like a bunch of skill stuff and was like, oh, it's like reading an encyclopedia. I don't want any of this crap.
Yeah.
Joe, as an expert, what's your stance on Sphere Grid? Do you feel like that model has spread out in the industry and now it doesn't even need to be called a Sphere Grid model. It's just another route for possible upgrade paths.
I don't quite know. Like Sphere Grid is actually really linear if you're talking about the Final Fantasy X.
Right, but I
thing.
feel like it's been coming up so many times. I feel like in the last 5 years, people being like, yeah, our skill tree is kind of modeled on the Sphere Grid for Final Fantasy X.
Yeah, I guess I don't.
No? You don't see it as a widespread thing?
No, I mean this. I guess the problem is the Sphere Grid really is just a linear. I mean, late game that opens up.
Yeah.
But in FF10, it's just a straight up linear. Like this is the next thing you can afford. Bump, 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 bump. You just sort of go from node to node.
So you're saying not that great in retrospect?
No, I mean, like it's interesting in the late game, but I prefer it when you actually have more flexibility as you're leveling up
Yeah.
to sort of go out there and like go down. I prefer skill trees to the Sphere Grid.
Okay.
Right.
All right. Fair enough. Kyle Federline writes in, says, do you think we'll see a new successful console developer in the future? Or is it going to be Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft forever? If so, who would it be?
No,
Nothing lasts forever.
This is one of those things. Well, nothing does, but technology changes. It's one of those things where it's like for so many years, people are like, okay, who's going to make the World of Warcraft killer in MMOs? And like, no one is. No one is, and no one did.
Time will.
Yeah, I mean, like, and time isn't going to make a better MMO than World of Warcraft. What it's going to do is make things like Dota and League of Legends ridiculously popular, and then people are going to sort of like gaming is going to sort of migrate in that direction, So it's like at this point, no one's going to come out and build a traditional console like Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo have been doing for years. No one's going to enter that market and be competitive. It's going to be at this like technology transition phase into things that are maybe more digital, more streaming, whatever.
Yeah.
That's the opportunity for someone to come up to rise up, I think.
That's what we've seen with like iPads and stuff, right?
Yeah.
That's that next level of like, all right, well, now gaming's going in this direction a little bit. Like consoles are still around, but like tablets are kind of like that new frontier. I mean, in the past like 10 years.
Well, I mean, I think we're all not talking about or acknowledging, maybe as an industry, that weird bubble. What was it, like 2013? Kind of the Ouya craze. Like, it's easy to crap on the Ouya now, but there was so much enthusiasm, and everyone's like, holy crap, gotta get on this market. Amazon, let's go, get that fire rolling. Like, everyone wants those small, more open-ended console experiences, and just nothing.
Everybody wants them, but nobody's buying them. Like, you see...
They failed.
Yeah,
right.
Ouya, Fire TV, Apple TV tried it more recently. Remember, they had harmonics on board, and like,
Sports Beat.
I got one of those. I got one of the new Apple TVs, and there's like 2 original games, and then it's all like, all right, here's another Jetpack Joyride port. It's like
still amazing.
But
it's fun, but
is that more representation of where the industry is at, or were these just incompetent products? Because with the Ouya,
the
the Ouya was bad.
Product.
Like, it was just bad straight out the box.
The Apple TV is fine. I mean, I haven't.
Right, but that's not presented as a gaming console.
They had a whole segment of their like reveal of that product dedicated to gaming. Like I said, they had harmonics up on stage. They had, I think, Disney
it was
Studios
a soft
up on
push,
stage.
but they definitely pushed more than they ever have.
But they didn't come out and say this is a console like they did with the Ouya, and that's a difference. Like, you can say like, this has gaming capabilities, but unless you come out and say this is a console, like, I don't think that actually counts.
You need to be on an E3 stage.
As far as this conversation pertains.
And also, I mean, we're going back to the thing where that's like the new frontier is like we're seeing the push towards everything being an all-in-one system, which is why we might not have seen such a hard push for just the gaming aspect, because everybody wants, all right, I want to play games on this thing, but I also want Netflix, and I want to watch live TV, and I want to get HBO Go, and I think that, Xbox and PlayStation is always going to be more focused on the gaming side of things, whereas people who are kind of dipping their toe in are going to be more on the entertainment side.
Yeah, I was always fascinated with how poorly the PlayStation TV did. Like, I thought, like, if that had Netflix, like, I'm really curious to see, because it didn't. It did not have Netflix.
Netflix?
No, it did not have Netflix at all.
That's bizarre.
So I'm curious, like, if it did have that, would that have changed things?
By the end of that thing's life, too, which I guess is still going on. Like, I remember seeing sales was like, it's $20. And I was still like, I'm good. I'll just buy a large sandwich instead. It's very sad.
That's a very large sandwich.
Go out for a date. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Mitch writes in and says, howdy. I've been playing through Breath of the Wild on the Switch I picked up last week. A couple times I would do something cool and think, hey, I deserved an achievement for that. Why don't you think Nintendo has embraced achievements this generation, and would you like them to?
Because they're dumb.
Hey, I also dislike them. I don't know if I go as far as to call them dumb, but I'll turn them off immediately. So I don't want that layer on top of my gaming of thinking, I deserve something extra. I deserved a little sound effect on my screen.
It's also an interruption. Like,
Yeah.
whenever that thing dings and it's in the corner, like, I've been playing Ghost Recon. I've been being hit with those constantly. It's just like, I don't want this noise, this garbage. Just let me play my game.
I like achievements overall, but like I would not want achievements for Breath of the Wild. Like, that would just take you right out of the experience. Like, I don't know. It's just such like a serene, meditative experience exploring this world, and then all of a sudden, like,
But,
you
like,
got 25 multiple kills.
Turn off notifications then.
Would you want Nintendo to embrace achievements?
I personally love achievements and not the reason I like them isn't for like the idea of like, hey, you got to this story point. Congratulations, you beat the game.
Yeah.
I like achievements in the way that they will, for me anyway, they drive me to explore parts of a game or try things that I may not have done otherwise.
So it can be pretty buried. You just want a list to see things that are possible.
Yeah, because like no one knows the games better than the developers. So if they make a list of like, hey, these are fun things that we would like players to try, and to like, the achievement isn't so much a carrot on a stick and like, oh, that's a thing that's worth getting, as it is something that's like a beacon that's flashing to players saying, hey, check this out. Think of a game like, Saints Row the Third, I think, did a good job with some of these, where it's just like you can do a bunch of crazy stuff in that game that it's easy to sort of get caught in a routine of like, this is how I get places. I take this kind of car, or I shoot guys with this kind of weapon, or whatever. And I think those achievements are good ways to, call players' attention to other things that they can do that they might not be doing.
So Joe, you're talking about looking at a list of unearned achievements then and seeing, okay, this is where I can go, looking at them as like signposts.
In one way, but I also like, I have a blog going on our website where I like list the games that I've gotten all the achievements or, platinum trophies on or whatever, because for me, there's also a sense of satisfaction once I get all of the achievements of being like, hey, I did what was important. Like I played the hell out of that game. I did
objectively the hell out of it.
I did everything interesting there was to do in that game. And there's something that I like about sort of that completionist checklist kind of vibe to it.
I still want the carrot on the stick quality, and I wish that it was tied to monetary value in a way that like, sort of like Nintendo's points for buying consoles. Like I wish there was like a PlayStation Store or an Xbox Store where I could just redeem like achievement points.
What about like earning
PlayStation
stickers
trophies.
on the Wii U? Was that enough for
Like,
you?
yeah, that's enough for me. Like, it's like,
Okay.
okay, I can earn this with this crap I've earned. Sure.
You know what actually handled that well was, I've always appreciated the way Ubisoft does. Well, the whole Club Ubi or whatever that thing's called now.
Yeah.
It definitely has its problems, but I love the fact that anytime I put in a new Assassin's Creed game, I can go and be like, oh, because I've played so many of the previous ones, it's like, oh, I can get this cool weapon. I can unlock this cool skin, like right off the bat.
Yeah.
You can spend your Uplay points or whatever on in-game stuff.
And I feel like
And I
people,
like that.
people are so busy complaining about, I don't remember my dumb Ubisoft password, that they don't realize, like, oh, there actually is something kind of cool, like a fun
Right.
little bonus on
Yeah,
top
yeah,
of
I
it.
agree. I've always enjoyed that aspect of it, like unlocking Connor's outfit in Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
4 or something.
Exactly.
It's nice to be rewarded with those systems, and I don't feel like achievements, and trophies like take advantage of that. They don't do anything with it.
Talking about Breath of the Wild specifically,
Yeah.
I would not want achievements for that at all. Not only because of the notification thing that I brought up, but also just like the part that I love so much about that game is that it's like you're just kind of dumped into the world, no guidance whatsoever, and it's like I have no idea what's out there waiting for me. I don't want like explore all 30 shrines, and it's
Right,
like,
right.
oh well, I only have one left now, and
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
no sense of wonder in that. And
But if you don't you don't need to pull up the menu and look at that stuff if you don't want it.
I
right?
don't know.
But you'd be compelled to?
I probably would be.
You dirty rat.
Well, then you don't dislike it as much as you say. You do.
I don't dislike it. I'm just saying for that particular, like I love like trying to get as many achievements as possible. Like I'm still frustrated. There's so many Overwatch achievements that I don't have yet because I play that game constantly.
You don't have to tell Joe about it. Joe refuses to play Overwatch.
Oh yeah, I don't play Overwatch.
But like I don't know, I just wouldn't want it for Breath of the Wild. I think that it would defeat a lot of.
There's
what
an
makes that
interesting
game
angle
great.
with Nintendo Switch specifically, since they're going back in theory, and messing with code to add online multiplayer to some of the Nintendo and SNES games, which they said they were. There's a good opportunity to do the classic Joe thing of, hey, add some achievements in that thing.
Yeah.
Open up Final Fantasy 6. Let's go.
Oh man, I would so do that.
Well, there's probably some on Steam for you.
Meh.
Okay. Let's see. Chris writes in and says, hey, podcast crew. Chris from Chicago here. Hello, Chris. I know much has been made of how crazy March is for games, but I have a dilemma. Between Horizon, Mass Effect, Zelda, new Overwatch Hero, 2016's backlog, what do I prioritize? Do I jump on the Zelda Switch train early or let Horizon and Mass Effect hold me over till fall? Do I clear out the backlog or save them for when things get quiet? Thanks for all you do. We need to help Chris out.
Listen to your heart, Chris.
No, that's not an answer.
Always-
Let's give him something definitive.
I keep the backlog on the backlog.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's my. I mean, there are times when I will actually go and pick up a game from last year that I was like, I really wanted to play this and didn't get around to it. But in a lot of cases, you can't let that guilt keep you from playing
Let it
other
go.
stuff.
New
Yeah.
year,
Yeah.
rip off that Band-Aid. Let's go.
I mean, there are months where nothing comes out, so you'll have time to go through your backlog.
So the question is, Brian, you're playing a lot of it. We talk about it in an upcoming segment. Zelda Switch train early to get in on that cool conversation, or just ride out Horizon Mass Effect till, in theory, Mario comes out end of 2017?
I'm actually glad I played Horizon before playing Zelda. And that's because it makes the open world of Zelda feel so much more refreshing because Horizon is so like just
Amazing, but rote.
it's great, but
Yeah.
you're just inundated with like a million icons across the map, and
Right.
like it becomes a checklist simulator like so many other games have. But I love Horizon. I think that's a great place to start.
So what is Chris doing here? Give me the
I think Horizon's a
diagnosis.
good spot to start.
So start playing Horizon, and
yeah,
then
I mean-
you probably won't finish it till Mass Effect comes out, and then at that point, see how it goes.
Yeah, and if you don't have a Switch already, which I mean, if he doesn't have Zelda, I doubt he has a Switch.
It's going to be tough to get.
I'm saying hold off until Switches are A, more readily available, and B, have a much larger lineup. Like
There we go.
at least Mario Kart, but I mean, Splatoon
Yeah,
in the
there's
summer.
It's a great, from everything I hear about Zelda, it's a great game, but also like not worth buying a console for at this point. If you have a Wii U, you can also play it.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Anyways, Zane Dukes from Knoxville, Tennessee writes in, and it's
If you have a Wii U.
Hey,
Hey.
some people do.
Don't be negative over there, JV. Are you laughing at every Wii U owner?
Yeah. No, I'm
also-
not laughing
no.
at every Wii U.
He's laughing at his own joke. Let's just go on.
That's fair.
Joe, I'm sorry. Are you sandwiched between people you violently hate? Or what's going on over there?
I'm just a little salty today.
Apparently. Salty dog. So Zane says, I recently caught the cycling bug. I'm sorry. Which led me to a shocking discovery. There are workout games I don't think people know exist. There's a program called Zwift, which uses Bluetooth receivers to gather data like heart rate, cadence, and power from a bike and trainer, which is then translated to a 3D cyclist on your computer. You can race other people online from your living room on your bike trainer. I know Wii Fit was really popular, but honestly, I'm surprised there aren't more games that are tied into the fitness tracker craze. What would you like to see from a game that had fitness-based elements? Also, the last email I sent in, I mentioned that I'd been a community member since 2003 with Game Informer, and we were like, what? 2003? What did it even look like? He says, the old forums at Game Informer were a hotbed of activity. There was at one point a community podcast. Several of my GI forums friends helped me break up with a high school girlfriend. Any chance there's a website overhaul that will make the forums usable again? Great question, Zane. Let's get to the fitness.
I remember those. Like, I started in late 2003. I really liked hanging out on the forums.
Were you the
back
one that
then.
told him to dump his girlfriend?
No.
Oh, I see. Anyways.
Yeah. No. I pretty much said that to every post on the forum.
Just
Dump her. You're too good for her.
I'm really looking forward to Wind Waker.
Yep.
Lose the broad. So this question really stood out to me because recently did a Man on the Street segment with Ben Reeves called Does the Public Know About the Nintendo Switch? And a shocking amount of random people on the sidewalk, their first question about the console was like, is there any sort of fitness stuff there? It seems like there is a real demand or an interest in the wider public for more electronic fitness-based stuff that has an interesting hook. What do you guys think about that market?
I mean, it exists.
Shay, you're a fit guy. You into that stuff?
I have an Apple Watch right here.
What does it do? What does it track?
I can link it to like my Nike Plus running thing, so it tracks like how far I've run and everything. Like there's little like circles on here that show like, all right, this is how many calories I've burned. This is how many minutes I worked out today.
That's what those circles are right now?
Yeah,
Oh my God.
and that's fine.
Hey,
I don't.
Shay, didn't you try like a biking VR game or
I
something?
did, and I mean it was fine. Like it's just like you put a VR headset on. There's a bunch of games in there that you can play. It's not really fitness tracking as much as it's just like here's a thing to distract you from the dread of exercising.
Seems kind of fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean there's like a tank game. There's a game where you're riding around like a unicorn and like
Wait,
flying
so it's like
around.
a tank that's powered by a bicycle?
Yeah,
pedal?
Wait.
it's like Flintstones totally.
Wait,
Oh,
back
God.
up. Unicorn?
Yeah, it's like a Pegasus.
Wait, you're pedaling a Pegasus?
Yeah, so you pedal and like
I feel like that's a euphemism.
Unrealistic.
and the tank
There's no truth in
wasn't?
this art. So I think, Nintendo still says that they haven't fully abandoned their quality of life initiative that Iwata was really pushing before he passed. And I was just thinking about it. With the idea of detachable Joy-Cons and all that, there's still rumors that maybe they're going to make some customized Joy-Cons for specific games that kind of have a funky shape. Maybe that is the angle, is they could have some sort of Joy-Con replacement for the side of the Switch that you could also bring with you and have more of a fitness angle.
Well, what are you gonna have holding that dumb tablet?
No, you're not going to run around with it. But
That's
if it
what
was
I'm
just
saying.
like, imagine like the equivalent of like a Poke Walker, right? That you'd carry around with you, but then you could also slap it on the side of the
Oh,
Switch and
okay.
it would double as a controller.
I mean,
I'm just saying, I don't think that's a
something-
dead end initiative for Nintendo.
something I would like.
Hmm.
I mean, since the Switch is so portable and like take it with you and have like some sort of like exercise program on it, and like it has the kickstand, so just prop it up on like a table in front of you, and it's like, all right, now do 5 minutes of jumping jacks or something, and it just like it's almost like a personal trainer built into it, so you can take it to the gym if you want.
You just want like a PowerPoint presentation that says
Well,
jump
like-
in place.
Like recently, what I've been doing, because I mean, I used to have like a personal trainer back when I was in Austin, but
Quit
I
bragging.
haven't gotten one here. So what I'm doing is I just have a membership at a gym and I go on YouTube and I'm like, all right, today I want to do a kickboxing workout, and I just put the phone down and have my Bluetooth earbuds in and like
Yeah.
25-minute exercise like built in. Like Xbox Fitness does that a little bit.
Okay.
But you can't take Xbox Fitness to the gym. Like a Switch, you could conceivably take to the gym. I
Or
mean,
your phone.
you could do your phone. I'm just saying, like these are options that they could explore.
Everyone's overthinking it. It should just be
no,
your phone.
I mean, ultimately, I think that the console market is dead for fitness games.
I think We Fit You kind of prove that in a
Well,
way.
because I mean, part of it is that like, in order to make these things interesting, they kind of need to have a competitive or at least a comparative aspect to them,
Yeah.
right? Like, I need to know. Like, I don't want to just see my stats. I want to see how my stats compare to other people who are using it, and like the way that has the greatest like spread is on phones. That's what everyone
Mhm.
has one of. I don't
Yeah.
want to just compare to my friends who own a Switch or compare to my friends who own a PS4 or whatever. Like you want to reach out across like all of your whole network or whatever.
If Zane's really into this topic, you should look into that new recently announced condom with Wi-Fi. Have you seen that e-condom? It's absurd.
It's so gross.
Look it up. Look it up,
Don't.
everybody.
It is terrible.
Anyways, Blake Steele from Sartell, Minnesota. Hello, Blake from Sartell. Says, hello, humans at Game Informer. Odd.
Not
Or-
saying hi to Franklin, I guess.
Oh, thank God.
Oh yeah.
That's Joe's
Or
dog.
Barnaby. Yeah.
Anyways, Blake says...
Or
if,
JV.
Good joke.
Ooh.
Actually, you're going to love this punchline coming up later, Shay. Anyways, Blake says, if an alien spacecraft landed outside of your office building tomorrow, how would you react? Would you be curious and attempt to make first contact, record it, but keep your distance, or maybe be paralyzed due to sheer terror? Also, if you found out that an alien had infiltrated your staff, who would you think it was based off their personality, behavior, and acclimation to social norms? But that's not even
100% JV.
This is super easy. Yeah. If spaceship lands outside, I offer them Brian Shea as a sort of sacrifice to just take and go away.
Yeah, yeah.
Alien on staff, it's totally JV because like he likes totally weird things that no one else likes.
That no human on Earth,
Yeah,
outside of the
exactly.
IGF finalists or whatever. All right, that's fair. The alien landing outside. I love that question. I love thinking about it in like an Arrival-esque, like grounded way. Realistically,
Okay.
I think I like legs would buckle. I'm sure if I saw a UFO land. Realistically, if that door opened, I'd probably pass out. Like, because I am in the camp of aliens exist, 100%, no doubt about it. But I think they're so abstract and weird. I don't think we could fathom what they look like. So just seeing like this milky haze, whatever the hell it is, like done, terrifying. Especially if it's tall and lanky. That last alien to get out of the thing in Close Encounters. F that. So
think-
legs buckle, pass out if I see anything.
I think who I am is for real.
Is an alien.
No,
Oh.
is like, okay, let's say that we look out these windows behind us here
Yeah.
and there's a ship. I am that guy in the movie who's just staring wide-eyed and mouth agape as the like laser gun slowly unfolds and makes a bunch of like weird whirring noises.
You're
and
expecting
then-
Mars attacks?
Yeah, basically. And I'm just sort of going, "Buh," and then the
Uh-huh.
camera zooms in real close on my face as the whole building just gets exploded.
Yeah.
So you're the guy who everybody's yelling and screaming, move, move!
Yeah, exactly. And I'm just
Okay.
going, whoa.
just shock and awe.
Yeah, exactly.
Does anybody think that they'd be bold enough to like go up and try and interact with it? Like literally, if it
No.
landed in the park behind Game 4, no one would go near it.
No.
What if it was just like a classic, the most classic vintage 50s looking UFO to the point where you're like, maybe this is just like some human weird like ship that we've never seen before. Some Russian spy craft or something.
I don't think
Nah.
so.
I'm pretty sure they'd just be coming to bring Dan Tack home. So, you know.
Oh, how dare you.
Attack is a candidate there as well. That's a good point, JV.
JV, for Halloween this year, can you go as that
There's
lanky
the
alien
gray alien.
from Close Encounters, just like shave off your eyebrows and hair and then just walk into the party and lift your arms up slowly?
Probably not.
That would be so worth it.
It'd be really funny.
Yeah.
Probably not.
Anyways, get a load of this joke, y'all. Mike writes in and says, hello, Ben, and all the ladies and gentlemen, and Brian Shea of Game Informer. Take that. Mike says, have any of you ever had an idea for the perfect invention only to see someone else make a fortune off the exact idea? What was the invention, and how soul-crushing was that for you?
No,
No.
I don't have ideas.
Really?
So
I mean, Ben Reeves is really the king of this with his Benventions. I basically, in high school, early college, I don't remember when the hell it was, but I invented a game that we called Korea Trivia with a friend of mine, Jesse, where it was just Trivial Pursuit, but you would get points, a standard number of points for answering correctly, or then people would vote on their favorite joke answer. And we thought that was really brilliant. We're like, we're going to package this. This is going to be great. And then Cards Against Humanity kind of got the soul of it. And then by the time Fibbage came out from Jackbox, like, that's basically it. Yeah.
Can you say high school again, just like you said it?
How
just
did I
a
say
second.
it?
I don't know.
Just a lot of emphasis on the school.
High school.
Never mind. It's
Closer.
gone.
All
the
of
moment's
my
gone.
all of my inventions were so terrible that no one in their right mind would ever want to make them or
From when you're like a kid?
This tracks.
in general, yeah. Like I had an idea for like okay, you make them. The way you make hoverboards is
Ooh.
magnets, right? I'm sure you
Hang
guys
on.
have never thought about this.
I've thought about this exact thing. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Of course, all you need is, like magnets with sort of one orientation one way, and then just magnetic streets and sidewalks everywhere.
Is that not it?
Yeah.
I
but
thought about that exact thing, but a
apparently
variant
not.
where I was imagining wheels for cars, like 4 wheels, where the tire, the rubber, was just a sphere.
Okay.
And it wouldn't be connected to it, but it'd be small, like imagine like a hex grid, but like small kind
Yeah.
of beehive looking thing, but that alternating magnet idea. And then the inside of the wheel well is also alternating magnets. If anyone can tell me if that idea would still work, I would love
It
to
would-
know.
Like the hoverboard idea, like that's on the surface, that is totally the way to go about that. But like, think about all the failed prototypes and like they get on it and it just like the magnetic force is too strong, just so it sends the guy flying.
Oh yeah, no, it's a terrible idea. Like I'm saying,
Why?
It's like the
shouldn't
idea of a
happen.
jetpack.
No, the idea of getting a hoverboard is a good idea.
But what's wrong with the tiny alternating magnet idea for hovering? Is that not the solution? Why haven't I seen this?
Because like magnets are not going to be like consistent in that. Like I don't think that you're going to be able to find the right force that's going to apply to all body types, and like me getting on a thing is not going to be the same as somebody who's substantially larger or substantially smaller than me getting on the hoverboard. Like they're
Well, then more of the magnets would rotate. They could flip for positive versus negative.
well, I
and
guess
they
if
would
we're
just-
talking like hoverboards exist, then yeah, we could probably have that technology as
I mean,
well.
you're also talking about the infrastructure necessary to have
That's true.
magnetic roads everywhere.
But like think about like the idea of like a
So like there's a reason why that hasn't happened.
Well, just give me one luge chute.
Here's my other idea. Real quick, my other invention was a bunch of plastic domes that one day a year go up over everyone's house because this is the one day of the year that birds crap. And then and then you don't
What?
and then you don't have to worry about bird crap.
Was this a real
And
problem
yet-
for your childhood, Joe?
I got crapped on once by a bird and I thought it was really gross. And
How
I
much
tried
did you charge him?
Anyway, so
I in my youth thought, oh, here's the secret ingredient. This is the best concoction to put in your body: carbonated milk. And so it was like it was half milk, half Coke, and then for some reason I thought the crucial ingredient was like a Werther's Original thrown in there. But then it turns out that like I started doing research and like carbonated milk has been like this long saga of people trying to nail it. And it was bad.
I
And
thought you were going to say turns out that's what Mr. Pibb is.
So you were just coming up with new like recipes for things. So like
That's right.
I'm when I was in college, I would put Italian dressing in my spaghetti. Is that considered an invention?
No, tons of people have done that.
Exactly.
Yeah, food invention. It's tough. That's just
That's
cooking.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spencer Horn says, hello, crew. First of all, I'd love to say that I'm very excited for the new game club on Mass Effect Andromeda starting soon, whenever that game comes out. So far, I'm 3 for 5 with the game clubs. He played through Final Fantasy 7, Deus Ex, and Bioshock. Sorry for that whole Deus Ex thing, by the way. He says, next, I have a question for you. What do you think are the negative impacts of video games? There was an excellent article in Game Informer about 10 years ago that has really struck with me. My main takeaway from the article was that video games can give us a sense of achievement that can subvert the desire for achieving things in real life. Spencer Horn.
I don't know. That's a tricky thing just because like it involved like singling out some of that stuff involves actual like research.
Right.
Well, high level. What do you think? I mean, just in a broad sense,
Well, it can be a lack of physical activity.
There we go.
There we
Okay,
go.
Mr. Fitness himself. You get a calorie watch like Brian Shea. You know, there's always a thing of there are certainly those moments in our lives where you're invited to something, maybe with people you don't know very well. It's like, I could do that. You know, I'm just going to sit at home and play Bomberman's campaign by myself, Brian Shea style. You know, and there's a good quote from the great Dr. Drew, that theologian, where he had this quote that'll really stick with me, where he said, nobody on their deathbed wished they spent more time by themselves. That'll really stick with you and haunt me. So I think about that every once in a while when I'm just really focused on a single player campaign of like, maybe maybe I shouldn't turn down social events for just the single player campaign.
I don't know. I'm hesitant to lay the blames on video game or
For
the
sure.
blame
Could
on
be
video
anything.
games for
Could
that.
be anything.
They're just sort of an outlet for something that's personal.
Right,
Yeah.
like if it wasn't video games, it'd be something else.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
that-
Like
for
it'd be
sure.
I'm going to stay home and read this book
Yeah.
instead.
Watch Game of
Or
Thrones or something.
I'm going to eat
yeah.
this entire pile of pizzas.
We've all been there.
So
I do all of those things at the same time.
Spencer also
Minus books.
says, P.S. Ben, thank you. I love the Twilight Highlight Zone and Fire Inside Out. Thank you. Those are podcasts with Jeff Cork. He said, next you should try a podcast covering all of Kurt Vonnegut's novels. Normally I wouldn't read this ass-kissing, but I wanted to point it out because some folks at Cracked actually have this exact podcast they started recently called Vonneguys, where they're going through
That's
all of
good.
Kurt Vonnegut's books. It is very, very good. It is better than anything Jeff Cork and I could do. And if you're a Kurt Vonnegut fan, absolutely check it out. It's very, very strong.
Hanson, it feels like anytime like a podcast comes up, like you've heard of it. Like how many do you listen to?
No,
on...
that's because instead of going to social occasions over the weekends, I sit in my room and eat pizza and listen to podcasts. I got to cover every new podcast that comes out.
Okay.
To answer your question, dozens and dozens and dozens.
Wow.
Hello, Ben and crew. Jerry from Gilbert, Arizona, back with another game for the podcast panel. You guys ready for a little game here?
Okay.
The panel's goal is to take turns naming each button/stick on the controller. Here are the rules that Jerry sets out. There is no asking what has already been said. Take turns in a rotation. Can't ask for any help from the other panelists. One incorrect answer per controller is allowed. I don't know about that.
Wait.
D-pad is one button. So it'd be the three of you, right? So his example is NES. If D-pad is one button, name every button on the controller. So you start with
B.
Joe,
A.
Select.
Start.
That's it.
and D-pad would be yours.
Oh, I thought we started.
He's saying
with
D-pad is just one button.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay.
So that's the idea. Are you guys ready?
Yep.
Super Nintendo, Shay.
X.
Y.
Start.
Select.
B.
D-pad.
A.
L.
R.
Shay?
Did it. didn't we?
Correct.
Yeah,
All
that's
right,
all
there
of
we go.
them.
That was a trick question. All right. Original Xbox.
A.
X.
Black.
White.
Y.
Start.
L.
B.
Analog.
R.
Hang on. This is okay. Yeah. You said what was the last one?
Analog.
Oh,
No, I
guess
said
I get-
R.
Okay, you said R. Okay.
Wait, there are two analogs on that one. Other analog.
Correct. Keep going.
Why?
Mm-mm.
Nope.
Sorry, JV's out.
No.
Start.
Already said.
I don't know.
Joe, any guess? What hasn't been said yet?
Did we say D-pad yet?
Nope.
D-pad.
D-pad. And the best button on the Xbox family of systems? The classic back button, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, I
The
thought we
back
said.
Oh.
button.
That wasn't
That's-
on one of the Y or white and black.
Nope.
No.
Oh.
Back separate from black.
Yep.
It's very clear Xbox design. Do you guys want to do another one? Is that good?
That's good.
I'm
All right, there we
good.
go. P.S. I'm super stoked for the next Super Replay Showdown. Are you hosting this year, Ben? You always pick the best games. Thank you. I thought so too until this last round. Oh, wait a second.
Reiner's been saying on the
confused.
Super Replay that we're maybe doing something a little different for the show.
That's the idea. Wade in the booth, do you want to chime in?
Reiner has a crazy game show themed idea.
It's themed after the best game show, if you can
yeah.
piece that together.
Yeah, we won't say which one.
Yeah,
But
but it's objectively one of the best shows on TV. I think I've raved about it on the podcast before. So I'm not hosting. This is going to be Wade for the second year in a row. So it should be fun. Stay tuned for that. Anyways, if you're not familiar with that, the way it works, everybody chooses a game they want to play all the way through, and then there's a brutal competition. Feelings are hurt, and then the champion at the end gets to play through the entire game in a show we called Super Replay.
Mhm.
Bill Tucker from Austin, Texas, home of White Denim, better known as the band who played the Switch trailer song.
They did.
Yeah. A few podcasts back, a discussion about
Delightful.
MLB The Show's retro mode sprung up. What other games or genres do you think would benefit from a similar treatment? Imagine a Call of Duty Zombies mode that played like Zombies Ate My Neighbors, or a modern basketball game modeled after NBA Jam.
Mm.
On a side note, I find myself agreeing with Dan Tack more and more each week. Does that mean my tastes are evolving, or I'm becoming a lovable curmudgeon? Hopefully, a little bit of both.
Becoming a
That
monster.
retro mode, you're familiar with it, Brian. We talked about it on the podcast. What other games could benefit from like that throwback little siloed
Or-
mode?
Wait. So context here, because
Yes.
I have no idea what the
So
hell you
retro
guys are talking
mode
about.
in MLB The Show 17 is like this standalone mode where the camera swings up and the graphical overlays are like all pixelated,
Okay.
and like the gameplay is super simplified, so it plays like a Super NES Sega Genesis baseball game.
Okay. Yeah.
Just in that one mode, and then the rest of the game is like a super deep simulation.
I'm thinking like the next Bomberman game should just have one mode that's just like the best cream of the crop Bomberman. They can call it a retro mode and then just sell it as an offshoot.
They should do a retro Mario game.
Oh, I'm listening.
I mean,
yeah, the Call of Duty one, that's a little bit tricky. They're kind of like thematically going back in time a little bit, but I understand they want. But that's not different series. You need it to be the same series.
Call of Duty with like Contra, but yeah, like Call of Duty, as far back as it goes, it's still a 3D shooter.
It'd be kind of fun if they had the retro mode there that would just look like Call of Duty 1, though. They want to go that version of retro.
For me, like Doom and Wolfenstein already did like the retro throwback thing, and that would be my answer.
Yeah.
I'd like to see maybe like I like RPGs a lot, something like that with Final Fantasy. Though they they kind of did that with FF15, that sort of free downloadable game that's sort of a 2D.
What was that called?
It's like King's Tale. maybe?
Yeah, people never talked about
but
that.
it's like, it's not really an RPG. It's just using the. It's a brawler.
And his example of like modern basketball game modeled after NBA Jam.
That would be
I
cool.
mean, it would be cool. It's kind of in that vein. I mean, I played NBA 2K16, and that has like the Streets version where it's a little bit more NBA streetish if you're into that.
But
where
it's
3-on-3.
You're not doing like front flips to the hoop.
No, it's not fun.
Mighty Number 9 could have used a retro mode.
Come on, Joe. So, question here from someone upset that they've never gotten one of their questions on the podcast, so I went out of my way to put it in. They call themselves Butts from Overblood, otherwise known as Khalid. My suggestion to you guys, they just want us to pitch a full-fledged Nintendo Switch Metroid game. What would you like?
Super Metroid 2.
Just call it Super Metroid 2. Would you want it like sprite based? Is it looking kind of bubbly, Link Between Worlds style?
I've thought about this a lot.
Of course.
You need to do take some pages from Axiom Verge.
Okay.
Which again took some pages from Super Metroid.
Yeah, where are
But,
those pages coming from?
I totally agree that Super Metroid 2 is the way to do it. But Samus at this point, I think, has too much baggage. They've tried too much with her. They've tried to like turn her into a character with Metroid Other M, which like no, I mean like seriously at this point like that character is muddled enough that it's like, and keep Samus as part of the whatever. Samus can be the like grizzled bounty hunter that's like teaching the new kid how to kill Metroid.
But people just want an orange Varia suit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, like have it look basically the same, but at this point, I feel like Samus's history is too messy. Get someone new in there. Also, don't forget that one of the main reasons people like these games is mobility powers, not just different guns. Because like that was one of the things. So like Axiom Verge had a bunch of different guns, and while they're really cool, my favorite part of that game, and in any sort of like Metroid style game, is when they have cool ways to get around. Because different guns just act as different keys to unlock different doors, usually, right? But to be able to actually like change how you move through the world to reach different places and stuff, that's to me what really like captures what makes those games fun and cool.
What would you want that Axiom Verge didn't already cover then?
I mean, you don't know what people don't know what they want until you sort of show them, So,
okay.
I mean, so I want to be surprised with cool ways to get around. Like in Axiom Verge, that little drone that you like shoot the drone and then you can like switch places with it.
Yeah.
That was really cool. Phasing through walls. Like normally a wall in a video game means like you can't get past here. So being able to go through that was really cool. Things like that, it's just...
You'll never believe it, but JV's slowly been shaking his head the entire time.
No, like I don't think any of these ideas are bad. Like I'm just satisfied with like all like the games that have been inspired by 2D Metroid. I don't want another 2D Metroid because I was just happy with Axiom Verge and Guacamelee. I want another 3D one.
There is such a weird trend with Nintendo and indies now where the fans have grown up to a point to be great game developers in the indie realm, and now Nintendo's just putting that stuff on the console. Like instead of making new F-Zero, they have Fast Racing RX or whatever the Switch version of that is called.
Fast Racing
now.
Neo was the Wii U version.
Right.
That's
Or even
RMX.
like, Advance Wars. People have been screaming for so long they want a new Advance Wars, and now Chucklefish is making that game that's basically a new Advance Wars for the Switch. I mean, and Axiom Verge, is it coming to the Switch? I don't know if they've officially announced that or said anything
I
about
mean,
that. But
They have it on Wii U.
Yeah.
But certainly plenty of Metroid-inspired games are making their way onto that system eventually.
Yeah, like I would just honestly rather have another Prime or like an offshoot of Prime.
And to tie into the conversation that's going to be coming up on the podcast, I've seen so many people on the internet screaming this, by the way, to take that bold, directionless, in a good way vision from Breath of the Wild and to apply that towards Metroid and that universe. Joe, you're wincing.
I
Is
feel
that not
like-
what you want? You just don't want complete freedom to explore this planet?
I mean, I guess like think about how people view Ubisoft's stable of like open world things. Is that like because Nintendo did it successfully once? I don't know that that's the right move for all of their franchises, and like to suddenly think like, oh wow, Mario would be great in this big open world. Metroid would be great in this big open world.
But
I
you
mean,
don't think like a Metroid Prime style game where you're just exploring a giant alien planet would be fantastic?
I think that you could get that same sort of vibe with 2D Metroid, and for me, it's just like when I think of I've played the Prime games, but like when I think about what I want for Metroid, it's Super Metroid.
Yeah, 2D.
It's not Prime.
Gotcha.
So
Hey, what's your favorite email?
I liked both the console one and what was the other one?
I like
The
the
skill
alien
tree one. I like those.
Skill Tree's great. Unfortunately, they're from Australia, and so sending
Oh yeah, then the alien
sending
one.
something lovely is tough. Alien?
I like
Alien
the alien
one.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
That was fun.
I like the console one as well. There's a couple other ones I like, but I promise it's going to be unanimous. I guess we got to go Alien.
All
Let's do
right,
it.
Cool.
Let's
Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Congratulations,
Do we have a
Blake
gavel
from
that we
Sartell.
can-
Clank, 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 clank. Congratulations, man. Hey, stay tuned, everybody. Coming up next is a discussion about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We have a big old cast of folks coming in. Brian, would you agree? Spoiler free?
For the most part, yeah, I would say that
What is for the most part?
like
mean?
first hour is probably spoiled.
If you have started Breath of the Wild, we don't spoil anything for
Yeah.
you. I mean, there's vague concepts of puzzles and whatnot. If you're super strict, it's about a 1 out of 10 on the spoiler scale.
I've seen some very, very sensitive people about spoilers for this game.
I've seen stuff on the internet that I wish I did not see. We do not touch any of that stuff.
I agree.
It's very safe. Anyways, stay tuned for that. It's a good discussion, and so I hope you enjoy. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. We got a hot roundtable here. I'm still here. I'm joined by Andrew Reiner.
Hello.
We have Wade Wojcik.
Hello.
We have Brian Shea.
Hey.
And we have Kyle Hilliard.
And somebody else?
We have someone else. We have a special guest. We have one person who's so old. When he was born, Old Spice was just called Spice.
Wow.
It's Jeff.
You were holstering that one for weeks.
This unknown voice is Jeff Akervik, who's been a Game Informer for 3,000 years. He is like one of those old guys in the shrines in Zelda Breath of the Wild. Jeff Akervik, what is your position at Game Informer?
I am creative director here.
There
at
we
Game
go.
Informer.
And how long have you been here?
2008.
He has really been a staple for a long time at Game
Yep.
Informer, but he's never been behind a mic?
No,
Why not?
that's a good question, actually. No, I don't.
Are you insulted
What?
we didn't invite you earlier?
No.
You
Okay.
say creative director, but it is of our production department.
Right.
So he makes our words look really good. He's in charge of the design of the magazine and digital
Yep.
edition, and even the website too. Like
Yep.
the new unique
Wow.
blades that appear on the site and
That's
replay
right.
logo.
That's right.
Yep.
And he has the microscopic eye that noticed that actually the M
Yeah.
in Game Informer is actually higher than
Higher.
the other letters in the Game Informer show logo, which I've been looking at for like a year and a half. Imperceptible to me, but
Yeah.
he can see everything. He will nail you on every front detail.
Keeps me up
Anyways,
at night.
The most important detail
Yeah.
here is that you're a huge Zelda fan.
Yep.
You have art and just toys lining your entire desk.
Yeah.
You've been playing a boatload of Breath of the Wild.
Yep.
Okay, so that's what this is. We're talking about Breath of the Wild. No huge spoilers, but we need to talk about the game here, right?
Sure.
All right. Breath of the Wild. Brian Shea,
What?
what do you think of this thing so far?
It's really good. I was tweeting over the past weekend that like my first impressions of the game as I went, and I was like, I'm not really getting the combat quite yet, but like that's starting to grow on me now.
Let me tell you about this system. We call it Z targeting. It's
I-
going
I-
to blow your effing mind.
Yeah. Well,
LZ targeting, I think is what it's
Ah.
called now.
I think the biggest takeaway though is that like my favorite game of all time, I've said, is Ocarina of Time. And this kind of gives me that same sense of wonder that I had exploring Hyrule then, like in the late 90s, as I like it gives me that same feeling that I had back then.
And what is that feeling exactly?
Just like, wow, look how huge this world is. I can go anywhere. Like that's how it felt in Ocarina of Time back in like 1998. Like you felt like you could go anywhere and like there was no limit to like what you could encounter in that world.
So we've been dealing with open worlds for so long in the industry.
Sure.
I mean, people even talk about how they're burned out on it. So why does this open world give people that sense of awe? Is it just the Zelda framing and kind of vibe?
I think so, because like The Witcher 3 is an awesome open world, but this has its own little warm fuzzy Zelda aesthetic. Which
The thing for me. The thing for me is that it doesn't show you the entire map. Like when you go up, like Assassin's Creed, you climb a tower, you look out, it's like, all right, now I have 50 icons I can go and explore. It's like this, you climb a tower and it's like, okay, now I know like where villages are. I don't know like, oh, there's an event over here that I can go do, or there's a person over here that will give me a quest.
Yeah.
It's like, I just know where the roads are now.
Yeah, and for that reason, I think it's not because Zelda. I think it's just because you can look and see something and go to it in a way that I feel like I haven't seen in other.
It's
mobile
so
games.
simple.
Here's the thing, and I think Jeff will agree with me on this. Growing up with Zelda, like in the 80s, Brian, your first one was like Ocarina of Time,
No,
right?
my
Because you
first
didn't
one-
play A Link to the Past until like last
I
week.
didn't beat it. I played it as they came out. I played my very first game ever was probably the original Zelda, but I never beat it.
Yeah, he's a Spirit Tracks boy. I agree.
You got lost in the woods, and that
Uh-huh.
was it. But the thing they're doing differently
eight.
is a lot of open worlds are narratively driven, like The Witcher, mission driven, like Grand Theft Auto, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Zelda is exploration driven.
Mm-hmm.
And they really put that front and center. And that's something you really don't see that often in open worlds where, like Kyle said, you know, like you just kind of plot a path and you go. Kind of like Skyrim. Skyrim was like a mismatch of all those things where Zelda really hangs its hat on exploring and you plotting your own course.
It's so fascinating to me. This is the big takeaway. By the way, we haven't really divulged fully how we feel about this game. I'm really enjoying it so far. I just got off the plateau. I've been dicking around a lot. So I've maybe put in like 4 hours or so just getting to that initial starting zone, really, is what it feels like. But it's so fascinating to look at the world and how compelled I am to explore, and then to think about it. Tell me if this is too cultural, but I think about it in terms of just a weird Japanese approach to open world design. Like we saw it with Metal Gear Solid 5, where it's like, what a weird take on the open world genre. And then again, to some extent, with Final Fantasy 15, and now with Breath of the Wild, it's just such a different vantage point than we're used to from like the Rockstar mold or the Bethesda mold, or especially the Ubisoft mold. And it's so refreshing just in a genre that some of us are burned out on to see this, oh yeah, here's a new take. This is what it should be, everybody. Just go run around and have fun.
So, what Ryan and I were talking about kind of this morning was, like, for me, it's like an elegant restraint. Like, it's a
Yeah.
really smart, elegant restraint. Even, like, for me, like, I knew I would love this game right away from the very moment the game started, just based on the intro alone.
Yeah.
The black screen with the white text, Nintendo presents.
It's a beautiful font.
Legend, and I'm telling you, and it just, the music, it's subtle,
Yeah.
it's poignant. The nature sounds, I mean, it's like a very meditative, beautiful, calming game. So then when those exciting moments happen, they're so much more impactful than Ubisoft games where you're just being barraged left and right with just stimulus everywhere. With Nintendo, it's a very calculated experience.
Would you call it simplified, streamlined? I'm
Yes.
trying to. Okay, but
I think
not in a bad
simplified,
But not in a bad
I think
way.
simplified is
Yeah.
a really good
I would
key
absolutely
word to
agree.
use for that. I think they really did kind of pull back. And a lot of times I'll be sitting there playing the game going, do they not know what they're doing with the open world? Like this is their first big venture into that? Or do they know it so well from all these other games that came before it that they were able to kind of scale back? Because a lot of times you'll come to an open prairie and you always hear open worlds have something called density, right? Like you want stuff everywhere. You want players to be able to interact with it. That's what, Todd Howard at Bethesda talks about that. Like we need stuff everywhere. This one, it'll just be an open prairie and there's nothing in it.
Yeah.
But there's something to that adds to the scale and grandeur of this whole experience that you have where you go in there and you're just like, it's just stunning. You're just like, oh my God, this is a real place I'm in.
I don't think it would be that they don't understand open world design, or they don't know, what the modern take in the genre is. Like we even talked to Onuma about, playing Far Cry and stuff like that. It's just that they're getting back in a very Nintendo way to like the core. What is the core thrill of an open world? It's exploration. It's not looking at a map and seeing 300 icons and checking it off 1, 2, 3, 4. There's nothing fun about that.
And I think how it breaks the mold from that was established, I think, in Ocarina. You're surrounded by, in Ocarina of Time, all these stone corridors as you're walking around, even in the field. The border of Hyrule Field is like a 20-foot high stone wall.
Yeah.
And walking to the first village in this game, I found myself in a similar situation where I was like, oh, surrounded by a corridor, huh? Nice try, game. I'm going to climb this. And you can.
Yeah.
And then what's up there?
Well,
Well, there's a new
A
view
view?
Yeah.
to find.
yeah, exactly. Kyle
Which-
brought this up earlier.
To find new things.
Exactly.
You know?
You can, anytime you climb to the top of a hill, even if there's nothing up there, you might see a shrine in the distance or something you want to go to, and then head off in that direction.
I'm still trying to wrap my mind around being relatively early in the game. Like, I love exploring. I love the world. I love sitting on top of a hill and just taking in the sights in a very hippy-dippy kind of way that I think Jeff is getting
The
at.
sunsets.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
But
So
is
good.
that the reward? I'm still waiting for... Is there something that I'm actually going to be excited about hunting down outside of shrines and a new weapon that might break quickly? Or what is the reward for doing those explorations?
There's
Well-
oh yeah, please go ahead.
So I got to the Dueling Peaks area,
Yeah.
right? And so I get distracted. Big deal. And it started climbing the mountain because it's exciting just to try to do that because it's
Yeah.
a challenge that if you're smart, you can figure out how to do it, even with low stamina.
Yeah.
I talked to Reiner also about this. It got up there and all of a sudden the ground starts shaking and it's like, what the heck is this? And you turn around and this boulder monster just comes out of the ground out of nowhere and it's, oh my God. And so I'm trying to kill it and it's just beating the crap out of me. And so I try again and I don't know spoilers, but I
Yeah.
figured out a way to do it. And it's so completely different than what normal Zelda games would require you to do. And it was so fulfilling, not only being able to figure it out based on, I was only 8 hours into the game, but also knowing that there was nothing even visually tipping me off that this was even going to happen. It just was, again, nature surprising me in this sense in a kind of frightful way. But it was
Yeah.
it was a really rewarding, again, it's that sense of discovery.
It is shocking how little they tell you in the beginning. I didn't understand cooking. I actually had to Google it because I'm like, I'm seeing all these fire pits. Like, why can't I do anything? Give me a prompt, please.
Dude, I didn't know how to light a fire.
I still don't. How do you get fired?
You gotta
Throw
get some
sticks
flint
on the ground.
Yep.
Throw some flint on it. Hit it with
Yep.
your sword.
Where do I get the flint?
Boom,
Is
you
it
got
just
it.
not
You
on
have
your
to
Yeah, you just
find
gotta
out.
find that. There's
You
like
gotta
sparkly black rocks
Yep.
everywhere, and you
Just
get
look around.
It's
man.
just Minecraft rules.
But don't
Okay.
blow up the rock with a bomb. Hit it with a hammer or something.
Yeah.
A blunt object.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
So when I started the game and there's this old man you talk to and he's like, I'm going to give you a nice reward if you complete this thing. And you do it. And he lies to you
Yeah.
and he tells you to complete,
more.
what is it, 3 or 4 more.
Yep.
Yeah.
One of his tasks have you go up north into this kind of tundra area
Yeah.
where you will freeze to death if you're not well equipped. Like if you don't
No
have
warning.
a warmer gun. So he tells me to go up there. So I was like, okay, I'm going up there. I freeze to death, freeze to death. I'm trying to sprint there. I'm eating apples and mushrooms like you
Yeah.
wouldn't believe. dying. I was just like, what am I supposed to do? And my instinct was to look at Google and look it up, but I was like, I don't want to do that. Like this game is not holding my hand. They want me to figure it out on my own, and I'm not going to cheat myself out of that. So I spent 3 to 4 hours on plateau looking around until I
Yeah.
found that cabin. But all along the way, I'm making all these little discoveries of, I want to go into some things, but like
Yeah.
story stuff, all that stuff along the way. And like the story itself is detached from the main path too, certain parts of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I eventually found an area. I don't want to spoil this for anyone, but where I learned how to do something that allowed me to get
I
there.
think it's okay. The old man's cabin is what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, because I went there and I still don't understand how to cook stuff. It said like, it gave vague descriptions of these are recipes, but it's still like, I don't know step 1 mechanically of what button will prompt cooking.
It's
here.
interesting that
Yeah.
you guys did this because the way I did it was I just carried a torch with me and just walked up.
See, I didn't even think
And,
of that.
like it's crazy that there's so many avenues to take. Like you can try to scarf down mushrooms and just
So
just
carrying a
shiver.
torch kept you warm the
Yeah.
entire way?
Yep, I just couldn't sprint.
You
That
can
was the
also
challenge
cut
of it.
open boars and crawl inside of them whenever you get cold. and you
Yeah,
warm
I'm learning
yourself
something
up.
new. Just by being on the
no,
spot.
it's very true. Well, that's interesting, Reiner, because so we're talking about there's 2 shrines on the Great Plateau, which I think this is fair to talk about, right? That are kind of in snowy areas. You have to go through snow to get to them. There's one that's across this bridge. And that was another area where I just had no idea how to complete this bridge. I'm like, am I supposed to throw wood at this?
Real
What
quick,
is happening?
Hanson is very bad at puzzles. Just
Just
general.
horrific. Just horrific.
Oh,
that clear.
no.
And so I went to the dumb bokoblin camp back there and
To
tried.
ask them.
I'm so stupid. Instead of using the magnesis to like lift that part out of the water, which is, I believe, the best way to like get across that thing and finish that bridge, I was up at the bokoblin camp grabbing those giant like blocks that are magnetic and hauling them like half a mile back to the water, chucking them down the cliff, and they'd roll all the way, and then they'd
solution.
kind of get wedged in the current. Like, it's the most rickety contraption imaginable.
Oh, I've had so many times like going through a shrine trying to access a tower where I'm just like, I don't know if this is the way that I'm supposed to solve this, but it's kind of working, and I don't like it. Totally looks like it's going to fall apart at any moment.
And does that level of, I don't know if I'm breaking the game here, if I'm doing what they want, is that also just like that key level of Nintendo brilliance of just never crossing that edge into like, I think I'm fully breaking this and it looks like crap?
Well, I don't think I felt this way like as much as I feel this way about a game since maybe like Portal 2.
Well, when you look in your girlfriend's eyes, it probably gives you the same feelings, right?
Of adoration
Sure.
and
Okay.
love.
Yeah.
I'm
yeah.
talking about like in terms of like I don't know if I'm breaking this thing.
Right. When you look into your girlfriend, I don't know.
All right, get it.
Yeah, Portal 2 is probably the last time I felt this way about a game where I'm just like, I think I'm probably not solving this the right way, but it's helping me get to where I need to go. So whatever, go
So it
with
seems like combat's harder. Do you guys think puzzles are harder than the average Zelda as well?
No.
I don't think so.
They're pretty on
At least
par.
not yet.
Early on, they're
Yeah.
pretty simple, but
Yeah, totally
I've
agree.
come across a few that have been kind of challenging.
It helps to know that you have everything you need in every puzzle scenario. The only thing you might be short on, it's like, if you're out of arrows, maybe you might
Yeah.
be like, oh, I need an arrow here. But it helps to know if you're stuck and you can't figure it out. If you just kind of sit down, and you're like, think about all the tools you have, and in that way, it kind of made it. I don't want to say easier, but on par in terms of like puzzle solution. You always have everything you need, always.
I think the open world puzzles or just trying to figure out where to go, how to get to places.
Yeah.
That is more complex than we've seen in past Zeldas.
But that, would you call it a puzzle?
Yeah, like there's
Yeah.
a shrine I'm at right now where I stopped playing the game where there's these spiky rock formations around it and I can't get into it. There's just
Oh, you mean the tower?
no, it is a shrine and
Really?
it just has
Oh,
these spikes all around
I know
it.
what you're talking
It's
about.
by the stable, yeah.
Don't tell me anything. But I can't break that. I can't get over it. I might be able to glide into it, but there's going to be a solution to that. And like you're talking about the rock beast up on the top of the mountain, you try to attack it, you can't. There's something there. That's a puzzle. That's something I got to figure out, and I don't know how to do it yet. So that kind of stuff is there beyond the puzzles themselves of just exploration challenges.
Kyle, so what if I don't like puzzles,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm really into exploring in this game? Do you have any tips for somebody that wants to minimize the amount of puzzles they have to do, but maximize the amount of exploration they have to do? Or are they
The
too intertwined
shrines
and you
are
can't do
all
it?
puzzles.
I know, I don't really
if
want to
you
do
really
them.
Play Horizon, Hanson. Just play Horizon.
No, I don't want to play Horizon
At the
because I love that
very-
world, but its UI just
Okay, at the
bonanza.
very least, you should at least go to the shrines and open the doors so that you have fast travel
And
spots.
see all
the
Don't go inside.
Yeah.
if
Okay.
You really don't want to. The
Yeah.
other thing you want to do is everything that is called hardy, like a hardy turnip or like a hardy fish or something like that, make food with that because it will give you extra hearts. And then
So Hardy gives you
Ooh.
Yeah.
beyond your capable
Extra
hearts.
temporary hearts.
yes, and that will help you
Mm.
explore without having to solve puzzles. But you really want to go do those. Like find a
Okay.
bunch of shrines, and then
Yeah.
when you're finally in the mood to solve puzzles, go do a bunch of them all at once.
Okay, all right. You have any other good tips for beginners? I know you put up a nice guide on the site.
Yeah, I have a guy on the site. Whenever you climb a ladder, make sure you start jumping immediately.
That's the one you go to right
Yeah,
away.
Yeah.
so it's
just
so
to save
random.
time.
Actually, another good one that I will credit my wife for figuring out is arrows are very hard to come by throughout the whole game. They're very expensive to buy in shops. So if you're in a battle and someone's like firing arrows at you,
Pick them up.
pick them up.
Yep.
Yeah, just run around in a circle
Yep.
and let them.
Would you recommend just sitting there with your shield up and letting them bounce off you so you get more of them?
Yeah, I think they will give you like up to 5, and then if you
Okay.
if you headshot them, you'll get another 5. I think so. That's
Wow.
another good tip.
Huh.
Also, get better at combat.
Yeah.
You might, okay.
I just don't feel like I'm
Honestly,
as
though,
agile as
just
I need
dodge
to
a
be.
lot. Just jump a lot because if you're just jumping a lot, you'll probably
Get like
at some
your
point hit that flurry
flurry
rush.
attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And get used to throwing weapons.
Yes. Do not get precious about weapons. Just
Yep.
throw them the second they. The
But there's
second
some
you
really
get that
cool
alert,
weapons that I want to
there
hold on
are.
to.
But if the second that you get an alert that says this thing's about to break, just
Throw
get
it.
rid of it. Just throw it. Yeah.
What weapons do you like, Wade?
I love the knight broadswords, just like and the claymores. Those things are sweet.
Are those the huge ones?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
the double-handed
Two-handed
swords.
swords. Yeah.
I got a lightsaber.
That won't last
Spoilers.
long.
It's actually from Star Wars.
It
You
is
use the Star Wars amiibo.
or the Disney Infinity figure.
Yeah.
just on the theme of simplifying everything. It's so crazy to me that all these different weapons, people are excited about the different loot, and really it's one number. Here's the attack stat, and people are still super into it. Like that's all you really
Well,
need.
because that's that point we were talking about earlier was simplification.
Yeah.
Like the fact that you're not going to go through. It's like, oh, what's the speed on this? Is this better than? It's
Right.
just like, do I like this? Does it do more damage? Those are like the only questions you have to answer in terms
Yeah.
of keeping it or switching to something different or getting rid of it, which I appreciate. I don't like rooting through menus. Like that was something Darksiders 2 is a line I kind of draw because it's like a similar Zelda game,
Yeah.
but it had Diablo style loot.
That's right.
And
yeah.
I would get so frustrated having to root through the menus and pause in the middle of a puzzle to make sure to see if these shoes were better than the ones I had on. You know?
Right. So is this everything we've always wanted from a Zelda game? Is this nailing it? Jeff Ackervick?
Close.
Well,
Yeah.
I think what this puts into sharp focus is Nintendo's finally stopped trying to remake Ocarina of Time. Like in Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, it's like get the bottle, put the fairy in the bottle, like
That's
all
a
the
good
same
point.
mechanics that they introduced in Ocarina of Time. They're replicating, trying to outdo that game, and now they said, okay, well, let's do something completely different, and I think it works really well.
I wish they'd adopt some kind of experience system where you kill someone and you get +5 or something like that.
To make fights worthwhile.
Yeah, because I'll just see like goblin camps. It's like combat's fun. I'd like to go do that, but I'm not going to gain anything. I'm just wasting my time. There might be a chest there. Sometimes there's not. And it's like I wish there was an incentive to go over there and do that. Maybe it's like giving you one more item slot or like weapon slot or something
Yeah.
over time if you're leveling up, but opposed to hearts. But I wish they'd adopt something in there where
To make fighting. something
yeah,
you
or
would
going
pursue.
against a big enemy early on, like make that more exciting, rather than just I did it.
You
know,
need
the feat
numbers
of
to
it.
make it exciting.
Yeah, I think a reward for that would be better than maybe they drop a rare weapon for you at that point in the game, but have it be lasting, meaningful, something that's not going to break on you or whatever.
Well, what's the downside there? Just it would put people in a more mechanical farming mindset, and it would kind of distract them from the thrill of the adventure. Is that the pure Nintendo idea?
Yeah, I guess. I don't. Yeah, to a degree, but I think they could be subtle enough where you're not gaining huge rewards from it, but there would be incentive to do it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what I want
Yeah.
for the perfect Zelda, right?
Right. Speaking of perfect Zelda, Ackervick, you saw Kyle's 10 score. Not a perfect game, by the way. And you seem to want to vomit out of your mouth.
Yeah.
This was before you
yeah.
had a chance to play it.
Yeah.
mind
Right.
you.
Tell me the
Yeah.
evolution of seeing that score versus when you realize in the game, like, okay, maybe Kyle isn't an idiot.
Well, I mean, it was
Well,
probably
we're still working on that aspect.
Yeah, I don't know if that'll ever be put to bed. I'd say honestly, it was like a couple hours in for me,
It is-
and that was even not, because the buzz around this game going into like the weekend, from what everyone was saying about it, was pretty intense, and it made me excited, but also a bit worried that how would it resonate with me. But
right.
I'd say within 4 hours, I knew already top 3 Zelda game, and I'm only like I
Really?
said, like 10,
Wow.
12 in.
What's your ranking?
10, 12
by the way?
hours. Well, right now it's probably still Ocarina, big, Ocarina, and then Wind Waker is number 2.
Oh,
for me.
interesting.
So-
Okay. All right.
and I'd say this is number 3
But
already.
potential still to
and I
climb.
think this has the potential to go eclipse.
Is
and
there
go all the
any
way to 1.
chance? I understand it's completely different. Is there any chance there's going to be a bit of a Skyward Sword effect, where years from now, because every Zelda game, people just slob all over.
I think
It's every
No.
time, and then
No.
years down the road, it's like, okay, well, there were these downfalls.
to what Wade was saying about that being kind of that same blueprint. This is a new blueprint
Yeah.
to a degree where I think it's going to be heralded as like that first starting point that really kicked it off. Even if the next game's better or the next 2 games are even way better,
Yeah.
you're going to look back on this one as the
How will it be
foundation,
better?
right? This is like the concrete those games are built on.
Right.
So, yeah, I don't think so. I think this will be one of those games that people are just like, they did it. They nailed it.
Well, to that
No.
point, we actually have an email that I pulled into this section. Tristan from Melbourne, Australia. Hello, Tristan. Says, hey, GI crew, I'm sure this will be a popular question for the week, but just in case no one else has asked it, where do you think the Zelda series goes after Breath of the Wild? Have Nintendo consigned themselves to making Zelda Forever a massive open-world game? Would it be seen as regressive for them to go back to a more linear style? Have we seen the last of the item progression, which limits how you interact with the world? Are theme-based dungeons extinct? What do you guys want? How is there any way to put this fairy back in the bottle, so to speak?
It's funny because I think Kyle echoed this last week, and I was thinking about it as I was playing, of how this game almost sours my opinion of like older Zelda games now. Like,
Lord.
because
It
like
really
I
does,
I just finished Twilight Princess, and it's like that was good. But now playing this, Twilight Princess pales in comparison to this game. And now the thought of playing that game again, I don't think I could do it. Like, this game is so liberating in the way it respects you as a player,
Yeah.
and the way the environment encourages you to just experiment and do whatever really you want. Nintendo doesn't tell you no. The only time it's no is because you weren't smart enough to respect what the game is doing. Seriously.
So
And
the
it's like,
game
and
is
then to me,
gone.
like,
Okay.
we talk about how simple the game is, but the game is actually pretty brilliant.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
completely.
as far as like, it respects you so much to say, here's the rules, and there really aren't many.
Yeah.
Do what you want within those rules. I mean, once you leave the Great Plateau, I mean, this isn't a spoiler, you can go and fight Ganon if you're that,
Right.
you know, and like, that's crazy. Like, most games don't allow you that type of freedom.
Yeah, yeah.
And I can't wait to see the first person who's able to do that.
It's going to be fun.
I'm
It's
surprised
gotta
it
be
hasn't
coming up
happened.
soon.
I know.
already. Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless maybe it'll have happened by the time this podcast goes up. But yeah.
It's so weird to think of like the arc of, Nintendo, NES era. It gave so much freedom to players, did not really hold their hand much. Then they started holding hands more and more. And this is like the first great example of Nintendo shifting in a bold direction to not holding players' hands again. And it seems, as far as I know, everybody in the world is writing thank you letters to Nintendo. I just wonder like what the message is. What's the bullet point that they have in their company-wide meetings of like, oh, turns out this is the way to go. Do you think they're receiving that, or is it just this weird one-off for Zelda?
Man, they've got to be, I think.
I mean, A Link Between Worlds established that
For
kind
sure.
of new direction of let's open up the formula a little bit more. But
Yeah.
I am so curious as to what they do next.
You know what I kind of want to see in terms of what's next? And they do have DLC announced, which I believe is going to add a dungeon. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's cool. I want that. But I would really like them to sort of look at Majora's Mask and maybe even like the Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories kind of avenue of like, they have this world. Why don't you make this whole like dedicated new story in a little section of it or something like as DLC, or like take a Majora's Mask approach to it where they have all these assets and sort of and then kind of mix it up again in a weird way. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what I want to see for not the full sequel, but like maybe a DLC
I'm
or
with
something. Like
beyond
that.
DLC. I want the Majora's Mask treatment for this game
Yeah.
already. Just I don't know what you do. Just put it in low rule. Put it in some weird twisted world. Have a different theme
Change
overall.
Like, yeah, maybe like okay, I see what you're saying.
Moon's crashing into the.
Is it too much to ask
I'd love
for?
to see that red moon finally coming down.
That's a good point,
Blood
Kyle, 'cause
Moon.
They keep remaking Hyrule like in every subsequent Zelda game, and they're like, "All right, completely new world layout. Here's where we put Kakariko and
Yeah.
Death Mountain and all that." So
Yeah.
it'd be nice to see that remade or reused.
Or just
Yeah.
exactly.
The
yeah.
tectonic plates on this version of Earth, as my mother explained, must just be quickly shifting around for Kakariko
Yeah.
and Temple of Time and everything to constantly shift around as well.
I want a 2D Zelda after this.
Well,
Ugh, Brian, go away.
no.
I like
No.
Zelda.
The interesting
Be nice to Brian.
Go away.
He likes Zelda as much as the rest of us.
So we
keep
talked.
building on this.
We talked to Aonuma about that specifically when we met him for the cover story, and we asked about like what that 3DS Zelda team is doing, because it's the same core team, right, that made Link Between Worlds, and we're not a Triforce Heroes, which I understand was a little bit more mixed. But now with Switch development, in theory, most Nintendo internal studios kind of coalescing to the same point.
Maybe.
He brought up
Hope
the
so.
idea that what is it? It's definitely a possibility. Was his framing for a 2D Zelda on Switch, which I'd imagine they'd want to go like a more mass route.
And it does not
Maybe
want
just
this.
have like a multiplayer Triforce Heroes style 2D type thing. I could see him doing something kind of cool if everyone's on the same screen like that.
Maybe.
What do you want?
I don't want co-op Zelda.
No,
I want
I like-
single player.
yeah.
I'll put money that it's going to be a co-op Zelda if you want to take that.
I don't want to take that bet. I'm just saying I personally don't. I personally like single player Zelda experiences.
So, I mean, this is so nostalgic, and it's such a great, beautiful version of Hyrule. How do they top it? Like, what setting do they do for the next one without just rearranging this crap again?
Move on.
To what?
Go somewhere else.
To the moon?
Well, I mean, just move west 50 miles.
Just like
I don't know.
Doesn't
like,
have to be Hyrule. Like
Yeah.
like that Majora's Mask.
Majora's
approach, like
Mask.
Termina.
Kyle's totally right.
or Link's
Move on.
Awakening, where it's like a completely different realm.
But then that
Yeah.
takes it away from the main arc of history repeating itself, Ganon continually returning,
Do
Link
we
and
really?
Zelda.
Do we want that? I mean, we praise the game so much for
Yeah.
shaking things up, but
Move
I mean, at the
on.
core, it's still Zelda, Ganon, Link. I mean, Do we want him to take that Link's Awakening approach and just abandon the story structure as well?
I mean, I
Just
think
get more crazy?
they've done interesting things with that plot. I mean, like Wind Waker, for example, I thought was a really interesting take. And even though
Skyward Sword.
Skyward Sword even has a lot of faults, I thought it as an origin story
Yeah.
wasn't. So like, there's I think a lot to still flesh out.
Really?
I really do.
What this time?
But that's the thing. We don't know what it is, but because again, the story is in itself very simple. But if you start kind of peeling back layers, there is actually probably a lot there. I myself would love to see more of a focus on other characters in the world, like Princess Zelda, like if she was the focus of a game or
Like playable,
something
you mean?
playable, and
yeah.
like what is her motivation? What is a backstory? Because we get kind of little glimpses here and there, but it's always solely about Link.
Yeah.
Yeah, kill Link. I mean, come on. The guy's so lucky. He's
So
he's done it
lucky.
all.
What a lucky lad
so
dying
lucky.
400 times in all of our playthroughs of Breath of the Wild.
Kill him off. Move
Uh-huh.
on.
Sure, yeah, he won't come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Discover your Nico Bellic or whatever. Your new character.
On the topic of moving forward, though, at E3, we did ask Miyamoto about, like, hey, why does it take so long to make these Zelda games? How can you guys speed it up? Are you looking to speed it up in the future?
He just frown at you and say they're hard.
Yeah. Well, fix it. Come on. Make it less hard. Come on, buddy. Anyways, and he brought up that, like, yeah, well, in theory, the next one will be quicker to develop if we keep a lot of the same aspects. If we keep, like, this physics engine, we don't change it up. Would you want them to keep it this physicsy moving forward, this kind of systems driven?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
there we
fun.
go. Then
Yeah.
he promises it'll get done in a year.
Cool.
No problem.
Nice.
I mean, it worked for Majora's Mask. It's one of my favorites. Like
Mhm.
a sort of like mix it up a lot, but still kind of use your base.
Yeah.
And that was
could be
what,
cool.
1 year development?
Yeah, I think so.
It was really tight turnaround.
One thing I'll point out that makes this one so special so far is the hardware. The Switch being able to take that game wherever I want is fantastic.
Are you bringing it out in the woods, like in the trailers?
I am, yeah.
Just freezing your ass off.
I was at a dump the other day just playing Zelda, looking
Yeah.
at used cars.
Beautiful. I mean, but Wii U version, Kyle, we didn't talk about it last week on the podcast. Have you been playing that one too, Jeff?
No. on the
Oh,
Switch.
okay.
Switch.
What do you think of the Wii U
I
version?
played about 2 hours of it. It seems totally fine. Like it seems like a great way to experience Breath of the Wild. Like
And I'll say to that point, and I haven't experienced the Wii U version, the sound effects on the Switch version, fantastic. And because
Yeah,
of
sound
the
design,
focus on nature,
Yeah.
and I know Nintendo has even spoken to that fact that it has enhanced. I highly recommend, especially if you have good speakers and you can really kind of get that in as far as part of your gameplay. Like I've been playing at all handheld. I've done it all docked, and it's pretty breathtaking.
How many Joy-Con issues have you had?
No, because I bought a Pro Controller.
Ah, damn
I
it.
played my first 5 hours on the Joy-Con, and then my Pro Controller arrived. I didn't have any Joy-Con issues.
I'm having them quite a bit.
I have.
Really?
Yeah.
My game room, I cannot play Switch docked.
Is it because your aquarium?
Yeah, the shark wall. Yeah, no, I have a fuse box in my game room that's like in the basement area, and wires behind the TV. I don't know what it is. Like if you look at the restrictions that Nintendo has in place, it is the weirdest thing. It's like keep it away from anything wireless or wires or an aquarium.
Or yellow.
Yeah, like
do not place in a house.
what is this technology? But any other room in my house, it's perfect. I have not experienced one problem with it.
Well, I hope
But
you
that
like
game room,
handheld.
it will not connect at all.
That's so bizarre.
I have all my consoles in the same area and my routers in that same spot, and I have not had a single issue.
Well, I like Reiner's theory because he has a 4K TV. And the Switch is just like, I can't do this. This
It's
is
like, what is this sci-fi tech?
I don't understand what this is.
4K.
I look too good.
Go back to the future TV.
Just for quick bits, I immediately turned the UI off. It seems to
Yes.
be the way to go. Did everybody do that?
No,
Yes.
that's such a
Yes.
weird thing to me.
You're
No.
not missing out on much at all.
No.
I didn't, but I saw your tweet about it, Jeff, and I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. 'cause
You
that's
really
cool.
It's
should.
so much
It's
better.
very cool.
It's
And
so
then
much
even like
better.
when you enter the threshold of when things get cold and you know that you're going to start freezing, first of all, you can just look at it and kind of
There's
get
a
an
puff
idea.
of air
There is
somewhere.
totally a puff of air.
Yeah.
I assume the same for when it gets hot. I haven't seen that.
I think you start sweating. Yeah.
Okay, so it's not
Spoiler.
hard to
There's
figure
an
out.
icon. Yeah.
Although, can we agree to turn off the Sheikah shrine
Yeah.
beeping
absolutely.
indicator? Like
I wrote
oh.
Kyle. I was like, what the hell?
That
How do I
is the
stop
worst.
this noise?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
Saturday morning I
They
woke
tell
up
you
to
right
a
away how
text.
to
That
set
is
it.
the worst.
He just missed the tutorial.
What is this? I haven't seen this.
It's like a little pinging beep that
It'll tell you what
increases
shrines are nearby.
when you get closer to shrines, and it
Oh,
does it
really?
all the time.
And
It's
it's
the
super
low heart
loud.
health thing.
But you can't turn it off.
Oh,
You
God.
can,
Turn it off.
yeah,
if,
you can.
Unlike if Reiner doesn't read apparently, but if you read the tutorial, it'll tell you.
Yeah.
This game's all about exploring,
read,
not
yeah.
reading.
I feel like in Skyward Sword they learned, okay, players want to be able to turn off all this annoying stuff we put
Oh,
up on
God,
screen.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Turn off story. Wade,
literally, yeah.
you haven't talked much. Are there other huge bits you wanted to get out about Breath of the Wild?
I love people watching in Zelda games. It was my favorite thing to do in Majora's Mask, and the side quests that they give you. And I feel like that kind of took a little bit of a back step in Skyward Sword. So in this game, it is remarkable. Everyone has their own set schedules. They get up in the morning. They go do like in the towns. I mean,
It's like Majora's Mask.
So you're
Yeah,
creeping
exactly.
in this
Yeah.
game.
I am.
You're sneaking
but-
behind people.
But that's only because like it rewards you in a way for looking into people's lives, I guess.
Windows.
Like Majora's Mask, where you can ask people if there's things going wrong. A lot of times they'll give us little side quests, little red exclamation points, and there's a striking amount of NPCs that will talk to you and want you to be involved in their lives in some way. And
Really?
but if you don't want, you can still just have them go about their day. If it's raining, they'll run inside and take cover in like the inn
Yeah, that's
and like
pretty
wait
cool.
out the storm. Like there's so many little touches that to me make the world feel so much more fleshed out and enjoyable to inhabit.
Is this climbing your rank of Zelda as well?
It is, and that's why I didn't look at our cover information, and I want to stay very spoiler free because I don't want it to diminish the possibility of it being my favorite Zelda game, and so I want to just stay blinders on. I played about 30 hours, and most of that is exploring and talking to people and doing side quests.
Is your game completion progress like based on number of people creeped on? Like
Yeah,
just,
yeah.
like,
I
around
love
the clock. Like where do they go?
How many people are giving Link sideways glances?
I love all the little stories you can be a part of with all like it's enormously different from other Zelda games. Like in Zora's Domain, Ocarina of Time, maybe there's like 8 and they all say dumb things, but in this game it's like everyone has their own little story. Well, most people have their own little story, I'll say.
It's like Majora's Mask.
Yeah.
They just expanded on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Reiner, you've been in the industry for longer than Akravic's been at the magazine here. How monumental of a release is this? How important of a release is this?
Well, for Nintendo, it's huge for launching a new system. Like, I'm surprised they didn't cancel the Wii U version. I mean, seriously, like,
They're going to throw
your
that money
future
away?
is Switch. You need to sell units.
But
this
you
is
create
the
so
best-
much ill will right at the launch of a
Who
system.
cares?
Okay. Yeah, great point. A couple comments on
System's
threads.
dead.
They
It's
got
over.
that bank. They got that royal chest
Oh,
of
God.
goodwill and money.
For Zelda to reinvent itself this late in the game, I think it's monumental. Like, I really do. Like, you don't see that often with these series. Like, Grand Theft Auto going from 2D to 3D. Zelda has done it 2D to 3D to something new. Like, this is a whole new thing for them. So, yeah, I think it's huge. I really do. And I think it's an accomplishment we're not going to see that often in this industry.
Yeah. I mean, Zelda releases on their own are rare, every 5-6 years maybe, and to have one that just hits so hard and so bold.
Yeah.
Yeesh. All right.
Good
well,
for
that's
them.
it.
I mean, seriously. And you can't ask for a better launch title for Switch. Like,
Yeah,
this
absolutely.
is it.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thanks
Full
for
house.
having us.
Full
All
house
right.
here.
Yeah.
You're all so sweet. I love you all. Jeff,
All right.
you're welcome back anytime.
Appreciate that.
You want to talk about fonts? You want to talk about
Here we go.
Here
we go.
CMYK versus RGB. Wow. All right, that's it. Thanks everybody for watching or listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show. Be sure to tune in next Thursday. We'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.